Do have some special guests though. Mr. Jeff Nestor joins the show with us up in the top left here. I think that's how it's going to come
What's
across to you
up?
guys. Zach Vogt, also a big account on Twitter, and Blake Widmer, our fellow Islander. So we're going to talk about some topic. We're going to hit Purdue, obviously, crazy run through the Big Ten tournament title, and obviously now that we can agree that the Big Ten tournament does mean something. Maybe a bit of an overcorrection, but it definitely helped Purdue. And then we'll get into March Madness and everything that goes along with that. We may have another guest joining us here in a little bit, but he got caught up in a plane situation, so that's what you get for traveling. So I'll start off with this. Purdue obviously makes this great run through the Big Ten tournament, and I think everybody was happy with it, even up into the Michigan game, and then to win that and cap it off with a title and a banner, and to just the way we did it. We controlled that entire second half. Michigan looked rattled, in my opinion, and I don't think they've been in that position very many times this year. So Jeff, I'll start off with you here, Jeff. What did this run for you say, like, about Purdue? And maybe their resilience, maybe what the desperation of the senior class. What does it mean, and what does it mean going into March?
Well, to be honest, at the end of the regular season, I was kind of down, like a lot of fans were. I figured we were probably going to get maybe at the best like a 4 seed, and obviously I was as shocked as everybody else how well we did in the tournament. 4 games in 4 days. That's just an unbelievable run. And I thought that the senior leadership really made a big difference in the tournament. Um, and instead of the big three, I feel like we could probably upgrade that to the big four now and include Oscar Clough, because he was so instrumental in helping us during the tournament run. So I feel like that just made the difference, and it was just amazing. So.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Oscar Clough brought out a new side of himself, and I know that makes Dalton happy. Zach, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like this is a momentum thing going into March Madness, or do you feel like maybe those 4 games could have cost us a little bit just from a stamina standpoint?
You know, I feel like it kind of just played into the narrative over the last, month or so of the season that maybe the players just didn't quite maybe care as much until it got to March. Not that they didn't care, but that the season truly started once we got into postseason play. Obviously, as fans, we don't really want that to be true all the time because we want them to be locked in every night. But it just kind of appeared that once they realized it was a win or go home situation, whether it was Big Ten tournament or NCAA tournament, there was just a switch that was flipped. And, that's something that we've all been waiting for. I think it does carry a lot of momentum. I think the experience that group has as a whole, not just the seniors, but all the guys that played in that run last year. I think it just finally kind of clicked because I think the urgency finally stepped up, and I think once the Big Ten regular season was out of the question, Michigan had that locked up. It was just about getting to this point for them at that point. I'm not saying they weren't trying, but clearly there was a different level of intensity. Once Thursday rolled around and it carried all the way through Sunday. As far as stamina, it is something that worries me a little bit. We've seen some Big Ten tournament champions kind of, flame out early in recent years, maybe because of that. But, I think having a Friday-Sunday game, having the experienced leadership that they have, I'm sure they'll be able to manage it. So.
Yeah, I think getting the Friday game might have been as important as getting the 2 seed, to be honest. Just being able to get that one extra day is huge. Blake, I'll come to you with the same kind of question, but I'm going to throw one more thing in here. A lot of people have talked about Clough. Braden gets the MVP. So what is your take on that? Do you think Clough deserved it? Do you think that they gave it to the right guy? Because Braden, controlled the game, but he shot 28% in this tournament. So for me, it's a confusing situation.
Yeah, I get that there was good reason for Clough to be expected to win it. I'd have had no problem if Clough got it, but for me, it was a no-brainer that it was Braden. He just shattered the all-time Big Ten tournament assist record. Yep. He did it while coming one shy of the NCAA record. He did it while playing his heart out on defense, from the dive at the Northwestern game to how he really showed grit in every aspect of the game, controlled it through all 4 games, just controlled tempo, controlled pace. It was his game, every single team he played. So I think it had to be Braden, and I was glad that they gave it to him.
Yeah, it's tough to argue. The guy's he can do it without scoring, and that's something that very few players that have ever played the game can do. You think of guys like Dikembe Mutombo and Dennis Rodman who could change games without really ever putting the ball in the basket very much. I mean, Dikembe did some, but that's a special talent to be able to do that. Later in his career, Steve Nash did, but I think of Jason Williams and Steve Nash and these kind of guys who could control a game, Jason Kidd, without really having to score the ball, just have it on a string. So,
yeah, and
over to you.
I would just add to it, Derek, on that point is he didn't score a whole lot, but when he scored against Michigan, it was killer. His step back fadeaways, his drive to the rim. Then he got the and one against Mara. Those were huge. When he got the and one against Mara, I knew we were not losing that game.
Yeah, that was a huge. He hits him with the "I'm too big" basically for your 7'3" ass. So and that was after the jersey got ripped, and he talked about that a little bit, how that was just pure frustration. He was mad at himself for not shooting the ball well. And I think there was a point. It was the UCLA game, I believe, where he finally made a shot, and he does the thank God I finally did something. And you could just kind of see it building, and maybe it's kind of weird, but sometimes just a flip of a jersey can change things like that. Dalton, what were your thoughts on this game? We haven't really talked about it too much since it happened. So obviously beating Michigan's a huge deal. It shows that you can beat anybody in the country. Most people's, one of the at least 2 or 3 best teams that there are out there. So what were your thoughts on this game total? And, do you think there was a game in this tournament run that was the most important game for Purdue? Outside of Michigan, obviously you have to win that one, but
it really felt like, I'll answer your second question first, that the Nebraska kind of broke the floodgates. That game felt like a pressure cooker game to me. It was it would have been a letdown loss, but at the same time it felt like a massive win for us. We just came out and handled business, and Northwestern, you're expected to win that, but I honestly think that a lot of people thought Nebraska would take Purdue out of this tournament, and historically we haven't done well in the Big Ten tournament. It seems like sometimes we don't care since Braden and Fletcher's freshman year we haven't won it. But the Michigan game, man, I think it said so much more about Michigan than it did about Purdue. This is a Purdue team we've all expected this year. And I know each one of us in here is a huge Purdue fan. So this is them playing ceiling ball again, November ball, as I like to call it. They're back, but I think it just exposed so many cracks in Michigan and how they handle adversity not well at all. So that was my takeaway from it. And everyone got Cluffed in this tournament, and there's nothing I love more than to see Cluff just pushing people around. It's my favorite thing on earth.
Yeah, he's a horse out there, man. One thing I thought that kind of got overshadowed just by how good all the top guys were was Venter played a lot of really good minutes and a lot of minutes in this tournament. And, sometimes the 3-ball doesn't go in, but it started to a little bit. And for Purdue to really hit their ceiling in March, I think that's a big factor because obviously we've all seen that DJ's had struggles, to put it very, very lightly. And to have Benter as an option to go small, especially against some of these smaller programs that we're going to play, Queens, people like that, it's a huge upside to be able to bring in a guy who can rebound a little bit and can knock down threes and still does all the little stuff that you just want out of somebody. So I do want to ask you all one thing here. What does this run to you personally mean for Purdue's ceiling in this tournament? I think we all were going into this not sure if we were even going to make it to a Sweet 16, let alone a Final Four. And it feels like it's kind of a reset after this. And just kind of wondering, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident you are, what you felt like this did for Purdue's ceiling. I'll start out with you on this one, Zach.
Confidence level, I would say probably an 8 out of 10. Probably personally, I think the run in the Big Ten tournament obviously is not the end-all be-all, but I think it did a lot to set them up for this tournament. I think, had we lost yesterday or lost on Saturday, based on a lot of the projections, it looked like we were probably going to be the 3 seed in the South, matching up with probably Houston as our 2 and then Florida. And I think that is a much more of a nightmare scenario than where we ended up. Obviously, Arizona's Arizona, but to get to Arizona, we have a much clearer path than we would have otherwise had. So I think that raises the ceiling itself, because I also think Arizona is pretty vulnerable at the top, just with some of those teams up there, to where we may not even run into them. I think this run, at least over the last 4 days, was really kind of just showed that team that we all expected is still there. That team that we saw against Texas Tech, against Auburn, against Alabama, all those teams in the beginning that, were kind of those big early tests outside of Iowa State, but that team was still there. I think we were all questioning it the last 6 or 8 weeks, whether it was even still possible for them to tap into that. And, they did for 4 consecutive days. And that's what it's going to take. I mean, you got to be able to do it night in and night out if you want to win 6 straight. And so, I mean, obviously we won 5 straight 2 years ago, but we got to get that last one. And I think they are in a much better position to do so now than they were yesterday morning. So I think that's the biggest thing with winning yesterday, especially, but the run as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think kind of what you mentioned there was important too. A lot of people are worried about Arizona right now, but Arizona's got to go through a couple of potential upsets as well. And
Right.
They aren't guaranteed a spot either. And all you can do is kind of one game at a time. Blake, what is your confidence level on this, and how do you feel about Purdue's ceiling going into this? And kind of, I'm not asking you to predict where they go, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm back closer to where I was preseason. Preseason, man, I was like a 9 or a 10. Like I got my tickets, ordered last year. Was so confident we were gonna get there. Confidence level took a hit in the last 6 weeks, but I never gave up hope. I never canceled any of my plans. I've left everything on the table, and now I'm back to more like a 7 or 8. I think we can get there. If we play against Arizona, I do not expect Arizona to lose. I think they will beat us, but I'm not gonna go into that game hopeless. I think we're gonna have a shot. It's gonna take our best, but really excited for our draw. Yeah, ecstatic.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of hopelessness about a week ago, and I think there's a lot of hope right now, and that's a huge turn for this program and for what these seniors are. Dalton, what's your confidence level, Dalton? I know that at one point I believe it was in the negatives. What is it now?
Yeah, my confidence rides with a man from the Sunshine Coast of Australia, dude. So my confidence is through the roof right now. As long as Oscar Clough's rolling, who's beating Purdue, man? Tell me. Look down through this bracket we're in and tell me who's beating us if Oscar Clough is rolling. The train is rolling, baby. I'll wait. I'll wait all night.
Fair enough, dude. Short and sweet. What about you, Jeff?
I feel like kind of the same way I did about the Big Ten tournament. When I saw that draw, I thought, boy, this is a lucky draw for us to get. We had a real good route to get to the championship game, and I kind of feel the same way about this regional. I feel like we've got a pretty good route to get to at least the Elite Eight, and of course, if it goes chalk and we play Arizona, obviously that'll be a tough game. But whoever you're going to play, no matter what draw, an Elite Eight team is going to be really good. So you're going to have to bring your A+ game, whoever it was going to be. So my confidence level is probably a 7 still, just because it's so difficult to go in this tournament when you're one and done. So I'm at a 7.
Yeah, I look at it. I'm probably I'm pretty high, to be honest. I never really got crazy super low, just brief moments, but I'm probably like a 9. I mean, we just beat essentially a second round game, a third round game, and a fourth round game, and maybe a Final Four game, national title game, in consecutive games. So I mean, you beat a 7 seed in UCLA, then you go beat 4 seed Nebraska, and you beat a 1 seed in Michigan in 3 straight days. And just the passion, and it looks like these guys are having fun again. And I think that's big, because it looked pretty unfun for a while. And for them to be enjoying it. I think Fletcher was so incredible in this tournament, and not a lot of people giving him a lot of love. Just from every aspect, shooting the ball, playing defense, controlling the team, just the grit. I think the biggest moment in that Michigan game was when we went down 6 and he goes and bangs a 4-point play. Because I was sitting there with my dad and my son, and I go, here it is. They're going on the run. They're going on the run. We're going to go down 14, and it's going to be game over. And then, boom, he hits a 4-point play. Next thing you know, we go on a run. We're up, and I'm like, we're going to go into the lead with half. And then they kind of break it back, and it gets tied at halftime. And I'm like, hell, I can't be mad about this. We're not even shooting well. We never ended up shooting well, but great game. And a couple legacy moments for Braden, with that crazy diving assist play. That one, I believe, I can't remember, that broke some record or passed somebody on the all-time. And then with the ripping of the jersey and just everything that went into it, it was just an awesome thing. So let's kind of jump ahead to kind of March Madness and some initial questions, first reactions, initial thoughts, however you want to call it. I'll start out with, and these can be quick answers, and you can elaborate as much or as little as you want. Who's your biggest surprised seed? I'll start with Blake here.
You're not gonna like my answer, but I thought the committee nailed it. Yep. I didn't think there were any wrong seeds. There's a couple locations, that I'll talk about later in the show, and maybe I wasn't quite sure about the locations and stuff, but I really didn't feel that there was anything surprising or wrong in their seeding. So it's a boring answer, but it's really how I feel.
Hey, we want the truth and the truth only, nothing but the truth. Dalton, what was your big surprise seed?
It's not really a surprise. It's just wrong. They put Gonzaga on the 3 line. I just every year I have to deal with this, and I'm getting kind of tired of it. Like watching an NBA game, it's just I just don't enjoy it. It is a real treasure that they happen to land in our bracket, but I'm so sick of it. Make them join a real conference or give them a 5 seed. I'm so sick of it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis gets a 9 seed, and Gonzaga gets a 3 seed, and if you look at them, they're not that far apart. Other than Gonzaga's metrics prior to the season starting were so drastically ahead of St. Louis's. But there are some sites out there that take that all out of account, and they're pretty close. Jeff, who's your biggest surprise seed?
Well, to be honest, I agree with Blake. This is one of the first years that I didn't really hear anybody in the media complain that much about what, anybody not getting in. I felt like they did a really good job this year. But, I would have liked to have seen, just because I always like the mid-majors teams, I would have liked to have seen Miami, Ohio, maybe a little bit higher. I think they're having to do the play-in game at 11. But, they didn't play. Did they even play a quad 1 team game this year? I don't think so. I mean, that's the reason why. But I mean, what a season! And to get an 11 seed, it's a little disappointing for me.
Yeah, I believe they're the first team to ever make the tournament without playing a quad 1 game, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
Zach, who's your biggest surprise here?
Well, I don't want to talk about the same team the whole time, but to be honest with you, Purdue was, just because, the committee over the last however many years has kind of proven that the Big Ten tournament means nothing to them. And so, you go through that whole weekend and you win all these games, and their resume and their metrics are certainly a 2 seed, but there was zero reason to have any faith that they would actually take in the last few games into account and actually apply them. And so when that first, the East region came out and I saw Michigan State pop up, I was like, oh my God, they really switched it.
Yeah.
So Michigan State obviously drops down to a 3, and then Purdue, very, very surprisingly to me, pops up to a 2. And then I think the other ripple effect of that is Nebraska drops to a 4. I felt like Nebraska was very comfortably, at least in my eyes, on the 3 line. And then we beat them for a second time, and then we go on to win it and take that 2, drops Michigan State down to a 3 and bumps them all the way to a 4. And now they got to deal with Troy in the first round. So I think there's a big ripple effect of, for the first time ever, the committee taking into account what happened in the Big Ten tournament, which we had no reason to believe that they ever would. So that was very surprising to me.
Yeah, and I believe directly after the thing, they brought the chairman of the committee out, and he said that they jumped from an 11 to an 8 just from the Michigan game, and that seems way too like a 3-spot jump off of a single game in a 30-game season seems drastic. I mean,
right.
But at the same time, it is Michigan. I think Joe on Boilers and Stands, I'm sure everybody listens to them too. They mentioned that maybe, I think Joe said he was an overcorrection. Like so many years it went by where, like last year with Michigan winning it and getting no bump, that they almost overdid it on this one. And like you said, and a lot of people haven't talked about, Nebraska getting moved down. Now you got to play a 1 seed in the Sweet 16 instead of a 3 or 2. And unfortunate for Nebraska, but it is one thing I've always noticed. Brand does matter in March Madness.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Kansas getting a 4 seed. They absolutely didn't deserve it. That's the one in my eyes. You know, you look at their metrics, you look at their record, who they beat, who they've lost to. But yeah, overall, I agree with you guys. I think it was a pretty good job done by the committee, and a lot of that came down to the bubble being so god awful that there weren't a lot of like who's going to get in, who's not. But at least IU didn't, and that's always good. Next one, I'll combine a couple here at once. And maybe this is the same answer for Blake and Jeff, and if it is, just say so. But biggest team overseeded or underseeded? You know, for me, it's Kansas. I think Kansas should have been like a 5 or 6. They end up a 4. And if you only have one, that's fine too. But I'll start with you, Dalton. Who's your biggest overseeded and underseeded team?
Biggest overseed, Gonzaga. I'm not getting off that, man. Probably underseed. I don't really have anything, man. I don't think anybody's really underseeded. Maybe Michigan State.
Yeah, I think they could.
They
should have.
That's
probably
about
got it
the best I got for that question. Is that I don't see how they fell off the 2 line, but I also don't see any other path for Purdue to get it to without them falling off the 2 line. So, not mad about it, but I do believe that they kind of, according to history of seeding, not taking the Big Ten tournament into account, they kind of got screwed, honestly. But I'm really happy about it. So,
Jeff, do you have anybody in this?
Yeah, I had Kentucky. I think they're definitely. I mean, they're weak. Of course,
Yeah.
you know they have their exhibition game against us to booster their resume.
Yeah.
But you know them, and then also being a local St. Louis resident here, I'm familiar with Mizzou, and I feel like they're over. What are they? I think they're a 10.
They're 10.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they're not very good either, but they got lucky with the St. Louis draw, so that's
Very.
probably going to help them out. But Kentucky's the biggest one. I mean, they're just weak. I got them going out in the first round.
The Mizzou's crazy, like because everyone I've talked to in the SEC, like when we did the Bench Points podcast, and if you haven't watched it, go check them out and subscribe to those guys. But they mentioned Missouri, and they're very familiar. They're SEC guys, a couple of them. So the fact that they're saying Missouri is overrated, and then Missouri gets essentially a home game, seems kind of crazy to me. Zach, do you have anybody that you think is overseeded?
I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say Mizzou lost to Illinois by like 43.
Yeah.
So,
and I have a thing. If you lose by 40,
December.
you shouldn't even be in the tournament if you lose by 40. That's my thought.
Yeah, right.
It should be an automatic disqualification if you lose any game by 40 points. And that goes to anybody. If a mid-major plays Arizona in the first week, you lose by 40, you're out. Sorry. Time's up.
And that was on a neutral court in St. Louis. So
wow.
same
Zach,
place
you have
we're
anybody?
playing this weekend.
Yeah, as far as overseed, I didn't really find any of them that I really thought very strongly were overseeded. But one that kind of stuck out to me was Clemson on the 8 line. I watched them a handful of times this year, and I was never really impressed. They don't really have a whole lot of signature wins to their name, but I took a look at their resume a little bit. As far as metrics, they're not really too far. I mean, they're 36th on KenPom and 34th in the net, but they do have 4 quad 2 losses and 3 of them at home. Just some pretty not so great teams. And so to me, that kind of stuck out a little bit, looking at the 8 line as a whole. But then underseeded, kind of in the same realm on the 8-9 line, underseeded, I thought Ohio State. I thought, I was kind of thinking they'd be more on the 7, so I don't think they were like severely underseeded, but I feel like they got a really short end of the stick having to draw Duke now. Compared to Villanova, for example, on the 8 line, Ohio State's 26 on KenPom, Villanova's 33rd. So like there's a big drastic difference there. And then Iowa as well on the 9 line. I mean, they're higher up than Ohio State is on KenPom, and they're seated lower. And so, you look at TCU, who is also on the 9 line. That's who Ohio State plays. TCU's 43rd on KenPom. Iowa's 25th. And they're on the same seed line. So I think Iowa even is a more drastic one, even though they haven't been playing all that well. But I still felt like maybe 7 or 8 would have been more suited for them.
Yeah, Iowa's an intriguing team. They're like one more good player from being really good. Bennett Sturt's had anybody on his team that could consistently score, just 15 a game. It would be huge for them. But they don't, and they say guards win in March, but you do have to have a little bit something else. So I'm not sure how they'll do. It could be a Bennett Sturt's legacy run, though. He's
Are
got
you
a playoff
hating on my
win.
boy Banks, bro?
I mean, I watched him real close up in person, and he's a scumbag like every other player on that team. Absolutely hates.
Garris? Come on,
Yeah,
man.
full Garris, go away. Don't want to ever see that guy again.
Dude's a
in my life.
baller.
Isaiah's going to be on here in like 10 minutes. So before we get to the actual bracket portion of this, I don't want him to have to miss out on that. I'm going to jump to a different segment. A little trust or bust here. Okay. I'm just going to go around. I'm going to name a team. You don't have to explain yourself if you don't want to. Just trust. Do you trust them? Do you think they're a bust? Do you believe in them or do you not believe in them? We'll start out with Kansas. Like I said, I think they're overseeded on the 4 line, but do you trust them? We'll start with Jeff on this. Do you trust Kansas?
No, bust.
Love it. Zach?
Kind of on the fence, but I'm going to say trust, only because it's hard to count out a team that's got arguably the best player in the country, especially at guard. So they're very inconsistent, but if they put it together, then they're going to be a very tough team to beat.
Fair. Blake?
Yeah, trust because at their seed line, I take them to the Sweet 16, but not past that. So in that sense, I'd say trust.
Dalton?
I'm going bust. They're out in the second round to my boys from New York. St. John's. Let's go.
Oh, man, that means you're going to leave it up to me. And I'm going to sit this one out just like I expect Darren Peterson to. So we'll move on to the next one here. That worked out just like I hoped it would work out. It got back to me. Zach, we'll start with you. Duke, do you trust them? Do you think that when I say trust, I guess I'm saying, do you think they get to approximately where their seed line says they should? So 1 seed should at least make the Elite 8, in my opinion. I do. Similar to that. So do you trust them or do you bust them?
I trust them. I don't see them sweating a whole lot. I think they might, be tested here and there, but I feel like they're going to get at least to the Elite 8. I'd be shocked if they're not in Indy.
Blake?
Busting on the Dukies.
Woo! Busting all over the Dukies.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Dalton?
I'm hot on Duke, man. Take me to the Final Four, baby. Boozer brother, Final Four. Let's go.
Jeff?
I'm borderline bust. I mean, I think they'll probably make it to the Elite 8, but I think they're going to I don't think they're going to make it to the Final Four. They're a little banged up. So,
yeah, is their guard out? Is their guard out?
yeah,
Foster's out.
yeah.
Out for the year? Yeah, I'm the tiebreaker here. I'm busting. I think guard play wins in March, and I saw them go down to the wire a couple times in a row in the Big East tournament, or the ACC tournament. I think this could be a second round loss for Duke. Or no, not second round. It'd be third round, Sweet 16 loss. I'm also not a Duke fan whatsoever, so there's a little bias in there. Let's jump to UConn. I'm interested to see how you guys feel about this. This is a trendy lose early pick for a lot of people, but it is Dan Hurley in March. Dalton has something going on in front of him right now. Zach, we'll start with. We'll start with you, Zach. What's your take? Are you trusting UConn or are you busting?
I think get Bilodeau and Dent healthy, and UCLA is going to bounce them. I'm bust on UConn. I don't see it.
Oh yeah, Blake.
Bust.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite segment. Dalton.
Is the Sweet 16 considered a bust?
Yes.
Bust
For
them.
a 2 seed, probably.
Yeah.
Bust them. I just didn't know what the parameters were, so give me a bust.
I'd say that's borderline, yeah, but bust. Okay. Jeff?
MSU, baby.
Yeah, Big East, weak conference, bust.
Love that. I bust too. I don't think Michigan State or UConn make it to the Sweet 16. That's my bold prediction.
Wow.
Let's go to Kentucky. Blake, we'll start with you. Do you trust Kentucky? They're only a 7 seed, so really we're just saying, can they make the second weekend here?
Yeah, no, I don't think they make the second weekend. I think they win one and go home.
Dalton?
Man. Yep. One and done. Blake, you're right.
Yeah, they're not beating Iowa State. No way.
I had to double check, man. Had to
No
double
way.
check my bracket.
Hey, Rickus, how's this for a hand in front of the screen?
Oh, come on. Be
I'm just
professional,
kidding.
dude. And you're putting it in front of Zach.
Oh, sorry, Zach.
Zach's in the worst spot possible, man.
Jeff, Jeff, what do you think? Trust or bust Kentucky here?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I've got them as a bust. I'm going to be in person to see Santa Clara beat them in the first round.
Awesome. Zach, did you already answer this? I forgot where I started.
I did not, but I'm
Okay.
also saying bust. I do think they beat Santa Clara, but I think it ends there.
What are we doing? Are you moving
I'm
us
putting
around?
Zach
now?
up there in case we put comments on. Then it's
Oh,
in front of
gosh.
me.
You just
That
threw
way
the
Zach
whole-
has his
I've
spot.
been going in a circle to start these.
I'm in
now
the
He's a
I'm in the top
guest.
middle on mine.
Are you?
Oh, are you?
I wonder what it
All right,
looks like on YouTube.
I just mentioned him, Michigan State. I'm going back to you, Jeff. Do you trust Michigan State to make an Elite Eight, or do you not?
Oh, definitely trust. You know, you got Tom Izzo leading the pack there. So how can you not like them?
Yep. Dalton?
Yeah, give me MSU to the Elite. They're tough, man. Then they lose to Duke in a classic Michigan State Duke battle. Let's go.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. That circle or that pod has all the legends in it, and it's a beautiful thing. Blake, do you trust Michigan State to make an Elite Eight?
I do. I actually got them going to the Final Four because they get such a good draw.
do.
I love MSU's draw. Like UConn is not a problem. Like who can play uglier basketball, Michigan State or UConn, right? The thing with UConn or with Michigan State is that they actually have two bigs, and they have a good point guard who I can't stand, and I hate Jeremy Fears, but UConn doesn't have a point guard. Demery's not a point guard. I'm sorry, he's not.
He's injured too.
so- he's injured?
Yeah, it's not being reported much right now, but the rumor around UConn circles is that he's injured.
Oh yeah, okay. So see, I got Michigan State getting to the Elite Eight, and this is gonna come up late in the show, but I actually have Ohio State and Bruce Thornton legacy game upsetting Duke, getting past Kansas, and then Michigan State takes care of Ohio State to get to the Final Four. So I think Michigan State just got the luckiest draw possible.
They did. They got a great draw. My question to you, Blake, real quick: do you think Jeremy Fears kicks Dan Hurley in the nuts?
Oh, I would actually be a Jeremy Fears lover if that happened.
Yeah, he's gonna flip the whole
He
narrative
would-
on the country.
Yeah. Just how Chris Collins came into Mackey Arena and got a tech and ejected and hyped up Mackey, and like I instantly went from hating him to loving the man.
Yeah.
Jeremy Fears could do that for me.
Okay.
Just take out Hurley.
Yeah. One back kick to Hurley's testes, and
Yeah.
the whole Purdue fan base will fall in
Yeah,
love.
dive in for a loose ball near the bench, and somehow his leg just ends up getting up there, and like they review it, and they
Yeah,
actually say it was
clear.
just incidental,
And
and
it's
like,
incidental.
and I love Jeremy Fears forever.
And then they tee up Hurley, kick him out of the game for yelling and
yes,
screaming,
please.
and he
And
probably
it-
cries.
Izzo defends it in the post game.
Yeah, Izzo's like, well, I mean, he shouldn't have been on the court. He was just past the coach's box, and that's a problem. Zach, do you trust Michigan State?
I do. I think a lot of that too is because I think UConn's going to get knocked out early. But even if they don't, I still think Michigan State can beat them. I have a lot more faith in them than I do UConn right now. So trust.
100%. Let's go to a pretty trendy upset pick, and somebody Purdue's maybe going to see Gonzaga. Dalton, do you trust Gonzaga to make? I'm just going to say a Sweet 16 for Gonzaga. They make a Sweet 16 every year, so I'm saying how good or how bad do you think Gonzaga is? I think I know your answer.
They're bounced. BYU's going to bounce them. I think DeBonta turns it on, man. I don't think it matters that Saunders is out. I think DeBonta and Peterson both have this level that if they want to win a game, they're going to win a game. And I think we're going to see it out of both of them in this tournament. These guys are the real deal. And I mean that.
Yeah, my dad really wants DeBonta to the Pacers.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do. What about you, Blake? Do you trust Gonzaga to make a Sweet 16 for whatever it is, the 48th straight season?
Yeah, I do. I got them making a Sweet 16 and us taking care of business.
Good. Zach?
I also think BYU is going to get them. I think AJ is one of those players where a lot of times in March you want to have the best player on the court, And I think most teams that BYU plays, they will have that. And I think Gonzaga is a team that they will be able to take very much advantage of in that regard. And I think they'll beat them.
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, I've got trust because I think they're going to go chalk and they'll tie or they'll match up with Purdue and we'll beat them for this. What it would be 6-0 against them.
Yeah, Purdue doesn't lose to those fools. Yeah, I'll split the tie here. I'll say I trust him, and not because of BYU not being able to beat him. There's a weird part of me that thinks BYU might lose in the first round. They've been extremely weird. I think they've lost 7 of their last 12. Just seem to. I know everybody. I just think sometimes the bright lights get a little too bright for some teams when you've already underwhelmed all season long. Now you're a 6 seed. I think Texas is sneaky. I think NC State's sneaky. I don't think that they're good, but I think that they can beat a BYU team that hasn't beaten a lot of great teams all season long. So let's go to Purdue. What are your guys' thoughts here on Purdue? Do you trust them? I'm going to say, just because we're a Purdue podcast, let's go to the Final Four. Do you trust Purdue to make a Final Four, or do you not trust Purdue to make a Final Four? Make this a little bit harder. We'll start with you, Dalton, on this one. I don't know where I'm supposed to be, but we'll go with you.
Purdue Final Four. Yes. Give me
Yes.
Purdue in the Final Four. I think.
Blake? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think we match up with Arizona well when it comes right down to it. And I think we're both very similar from the outside. And I think our bigs are more experienced. I think TKR would. Okay, this is going to be a wild take. TKR matches up well with Coapete.
I can see it. I mean, I think if it gets to that game,
Tell
it might
me.
come down to Painter.
If I'm
versus
wrong,
Conway.
man, tell me. I mean, I'm more than willing to listen to somebody, but I think TKR could defend Coapete.
I don't think Pete could defend TKR.
Nah.
I think he's too crafty. Yeah. Blake? Is Purdue going to make the Final Four?
So I'm giving 2 answers. Okay, I'm giving my objective, taking off my Purdue hat, and saying what I think is going to happen, what I'm going to put in my bracket. I have Arizona beating us in our bracket. But I already got my flights booked. I already got my tickets. I'm not changing any of that. I still believe, and I'm hopeful. I don't think we will beat Arizona, but I'm going to be very pleasantly surprised if we do.
Yeah. Zach, how are you feeling?
I'm also kind of hovering that line myself. I mean, I personally don't love the Arizona matchup, especially out there. But there's also, a lot of times sports comes down to stories. And I think right now I've been looking for a reason to be completely bought in over the last 2 months on this group finishing in Indy after all the ups and downs over the last 4 years. And the last 4 days has given me that full belief. So I'd be a fool if I didn't ride with them all the way through. So I'm going to trust.
All right. Jeff?
Yeah, I got go with my main man, Clark Kellogg, and say trust. He's got him going to the Final Four and winning the whole thing. So I've got to follow his lead. But I feel like they got their mojo back in the tournament. So I feeling good about our chances.
Yeah, I'm going to lump these next 2 together, and you can just let me know how you feel about each one when you go here. Illinois and Nebraska, 2 Big Ten teams that I think have high upsides and also very low floors. Could be teams that lose second round, first round. Could be teams that make Final Fours. If Nebraska gets insanely hot, their defense is good enough to get them by some guys. So, what are your levels here? I'm going to say each of these teams to make an Elite 8 run. I'll start with Blake.
Nebraska, trust. I actually think they're a horrible matchup for Florida. I think Florida's guards aren't going to know what to do against that defense. I think it's going to neutralize Florida's bigs. They're going to end up shooting 45 threes and only making like 8 of them. And I got Nebraska knocking off Florida and making it to the Elite 8 where they lose to Houston. So I trust Nebraska big time. I got Illinois making their seed line and losing to Houston in the Sweet 16. It's just a really tough matchup for Illinois against Houston, I think. And so, but I trust Nebraska.
That's something I haven't really thought of. Nebraska forces threes. They do not let you score inside.
Florida's a horrible three-point shooting
Florida
team.
does not shoot them.
They'll get suckered into it, and Nebraska neutralizes good front courts. It's just what they do, and so it's gonna make the talent of Florida really irrelevant. And I think they can be scrappy with their big men bringing the ball up the court and frustrate them like crazy. And I think Florida is gonna get run out of the gym.
Oh wow. Okay. All right, Zach, did he convince you on Nebraska? And what is your thoughts on Nebraska and Illinois here?
To the point of Nebraska neutralizing front courts, I think as far as, straight up offense, I think that's true. But you also see both times we played Nebraska how TK and Oscar feasted on the glass. And I think Florida is even bigger as a whole than Purdue is. I mean, with Chinyelu and Condon and Houck down there, I think even if they do force Florida to shoot a lot of threes, I think Nebraska would have the same problems that they had against Purdue as far as rebounding, creating a lot of second chance opportunities, a lot of kickouts, a lot of, second chance points. And for that reason, I think I'm going bust on Nebraska. And as far as Illinois, I think, having Keaton Wagler is one thing that can take you a really long way. I mean, we saw it with Carson Edwards 6 years ago. Having a guard like that can walk into Mackey Arena and put up 46 points as a 18, 19-year-old is incredible. And they're a team that shoots incredibly well from outside. And so I don't love the matchup with Houston, but I think, if there is a team that can beat Houston in that region, I think it is probably Illinois, just with how well they do shoot it. So I'm going to go trust. I'm going to flip them.
Jeff?
I have to agree with Zach. I've got Nebraska as a bust. I mean, they started off hot this year, but then they kind of fizzled out against the better competition in the Big Ten, and I feel like that's what's going to happen when they go against Florida. So I got them losing to Florida, but I do have Illinois as a trust, and in fact, I've got them going to the Final Four. The problem with Illinois is that they're up and down. They might have team country like they did against us, and then the next time that they've got such young players that they can be up and down. But I feel like this is their year to get to the Final Four. So have them beaten Houston.
Dalton?
Yeah, you guys are wild about Nebraska. They're out in the first round. They're not beating Vanderbilt. They're not. Vanderbilt is athletic and they're tough as nails. And I will call each one of you when that happens. I will call Zach, and then I will call Blake.
For what it's worth, I don't think Nebraska gets there either. I was just going off the point that Blake made. I think they lose in the first round or two as well.
Okay. I will still call you, and we can celebrate together.
All right, one way or another, this is getting clipped, and it'll be good times.
Yeah, either Blake's going to be the smartest guy in the room,
baby.
Or the absolute fool.
Yep.
Blake had me half sold.
I got Illinois to the Sweet 16, though. They're not beating Houston, though. Illinois is not getting by Houston. I'll tell you that right now. So, Isaiah, long day of travel, made it. What's up, dude? The man is here.
He looks confused. We're right here.
Mike.
There's no snare in your headphones.
Illinois, Sweet 16. Nebraska out first round. You heard it here first. Now Zach's back in the corner.
Oh, coffin corner.
I got now. Man, you got to type shorter messages, Rickist.
Yeah, you're blocking everybody, my guy.
One word. Message.
No, don't tell him that. He'll just spam one word throughout the whole thing.
I want it.
Can you hear us, Isaiah? I don't know if he can or not. No, he can't. He just messaged me something. Sorry, guys. This is great podcasting. He said, "Can't hear you. Give me a second." Thank you. We figured that out. When you can hear us, just shout. Not that you can hear me saying that. Blake, do the thing. Do the sign language.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not looking.
Maybe he can translate. All right, keep rolling, D.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling. I was gonna do Alabama, but I'm just gonna skip them because it's Alabama. and I don't care about them. Does anybody have any hot takes
Well, I
on
saw
Alabama?
Alabama's Holloway. Did you see in the news today? He just got
Oh, yeah.
federal drug charges
Oh,
Federal,
boy.
laid
I
on him.
said,
So
I said you wouldn't. They said I saw somebody say, "Oh, there's no way they're going to do anything." You could literally be there when somebody gets murdered and they wouldn't do anything. It's like,
yeah, right. Didn't that happen last year, or the year before? Somebody convicted of murder or something.
It was Miller. Brandon Miller was like brought a gun to a murder or something. Wasn't it like 2 years ago?
yeah,
I thought it was him.
brought a gun to a murder fight. or
Yeah,
whatever
I
they
guess
said.
so.
Isaiah, can you hear us now? He gave us a thumbs up, and then he doesn't look like he can. He says he can hear Jeff. All right, I'm just going to keep rolling. He can pop in when he pops in. All right, let's go to the actual bracket. We kind of danced around it a little bit through some of these questions, but let's just roll through the regions. A couple questions with each region. Just want to get your guys' takes. We'll answer them all at once, all the questions at once for each of you. So let's start in the Midwest, Michigan's region. You got Michigan, Iowa State, Virginia, Alabama, Texas Tech. To me, not a very tough region myself, but my questions I have for you guys, and you can feel free to answer as many or as little of these as you'd like, is one, is the 1 seed safe? And when I mean that, like, are they going to make it out of the Sweet 16? To me, that's what every 1 seed should look at. Like, if you don't get past the Sweet 16, you failed as a 1 seed. So will they make it there? What's your favorite potential game in this bracket, in this pod? And then a sleeper team that you think maybe like a 4, 3, 5, 6 seed that you think is going to make the Elite Eight and kind of surprise some people. And then is there a game you think is just going to break some brackets open? I'll start with you, Blake, if you kind of want to answer, just an overview of the region to yourself. But which teams do you think are kind of locks? What's the matchup you want to see? And is that 1 seed going to hold its spot?
All right, and so we're talking about the Midwest first. Is that right?
Midwest, Michigan's bracket, yes.
Yeah. So I think Michigan is safe. I don't think anybody's going to push them until the Elite Eight game with Iowa State. And I got Iowa State beating them to make it to the Final Four. But I think Michigan's pretty safe. I think they got a really good draw for the most part. I do think Iowa State's a tough matchup for them. I think their lack of LJ Kaysen coming off the bench is really going to show up in that game.
It's fair. Jeff, what are you thinking here?
yeah, I think like Blake said, Michigan's got a great draw there. I think I as an upset, I've got Akron because they've got Texas Tech in the first round with what's his name? Can't think of it offhand.
Christian Anderson?
That's Toppin. No, Toppin.
Yeah,
Toppin's out for the season. And then the next round, if Alabama gets through, they're going to be shorthanded with Holloway gone. So I feel like that gives Akron a good shot at getting to the Sweet 16 where they get crushed by Michigan.
That's fair. Isaiah, can you hear me yet? I don't think he says he can hear basically
He's
everybody. but
muted.
Yeah, he is muted.
Unmute him. Say
Can you
something,
hear-
Isaiah.
can
Say something.
you- well, we'll just skip him for now. He'll figure it out. He's going to log out and log back in is what he just said. So, all right. Now I'm thrown back off again. God dang it. Dalton, what is your take on this region? Who do you think's, what's the matchup you're looking forward to?
Chalk me the 1-2 to the Elite Eight. Give me Iowa State over Michigan. Michigan's so turnover prone. We saw them with they had 18 in the semifinal round or the game before that. I believe they had 18 turnovers. So with the amount of pressure that Iowa State plays with, I just don't see them handling that. My upset in this bracket will be Akron to the Sweet 16.
Wow. All the way there.
Give me that. Give me those.
Impressive. Zach, what are your thoughts on this region? And who do you think? I'll give you one extra question here. Who do you think is the best player in this region?
I feel like this region overall is, this might age poorly, but I feel like it's a little weak. The 4-5 line, you've got Alabama without arguably their best player now. You've got Texas Tech without their best player, not sold on Virginia. I'm with Dalton. I think Michigan and Iowa State in the Elite Eight is probably bound to happen. however it gets there. And I'm also all in on Akron. Texas Tech has been reeling pretty severely the last week or two without Toppin. I mean, I know he's been out longer, but they survived for a little while. They have seemed to really, it's kind of hit the fan here recently. I think Akron beats Texas Tech, and maybe potentially beating Alabama if they get through Hofstra. I could definitely see Akron in the Sweet 16. Best player, I mean, I'm still going to go with Yaxel. I mean, it kind of makes me sick to say it. But, I mean, I think every big moment, every big game, he has shown up this year. I think Momcilovic at Iowa State's a close second. But I think Yaxel is still the most complete player. But I think Iowa State gets him. I think that matchup of great offense and great defense on both sides, but I just like Iowa State a little bit more head-to-head in that regard. I think their defense is just similar to how Purdue's did yesterday to Michigan. I think Iowa State's defense is a different tier than ours, and they're going to create a lot of problems. And I think they'll be in the Final Four.
Yeah, I think Momcilovic is just a nightmare matchup for Yaxel. I really do. That might sound ironic because Yaxel's a little bit more athletic, but Momcilovic has incredible size, incredible length, and he can get to his spots where Yaxel, it doesn't matter. Yaxel's not going to be able to block his step back fadeaway. Yeah. And I just think it's a horrible matchup for Michigan. I think the defensive chaos that Iowa State creates is going to have Cadeau losing his head, and I think Michigan will just crumble.
I mean, I'll be honest, I was completely unfamiliar with Momcilovic's game before we played them this year. And when they went on that run in the second half and he's hitting Dirk fadeaways out of bounds and step back corner threes, and I mean, these shots weren't even touching the rim. And I'm like, who is this dude? And so I started paying attention, a little bit closer the following games. I was like, okay, this is their dude. And then watched him Saturday night against Arizona, and he was doing the same thing. They couldn't stop him either. So, yeah, it's a nightmare for anybody.
Yeah, Momcilovic is nasty. I think he's shooting. Is he still over 50% on the season from three on extreme volume? He's crazy at that height. He reminds me a lot of that Dirk Nowitzki style. Isaiah, can you hear me now?
I can. Yep.
Oh, happy to have you, my guy. Happy to have you.
Let's go, dude.
He made it back. This is why we don't get in planes. Loved your Rothstein tweet about.
had to do something with the free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, something about, can you just take me to the round of 64 game or something? That was just cracking me up. I'll let you go. We're in the Midwest region, Michigan's bracket, if you haven't figured it out. What's a game you're looking to see here? Who do you think's, the best player? And how do you see this bracket shaking out? To me, this feels like the chalkiest of all the brackets as far as the 1-2 goes.
Yeah, I was disappointed with this bracket, and like it's already been said, we may age poorly, but it just does not feel like a bracket with a lot of parity in it. Also, pretty disappointed that there's only one Big Ten team in it. That seems kind of weird that Michigan got this pod all to themselves. I'm looking forward to seeing Kentucky Santa Clara because I've talked a lot of crap on Kentucky, and I think Santa Clara is going to win that game. And I'm very much looking forward to the reaction from Kentucky fans if Santa Clara does win that game. But as far as the rest of the bracket goes, I like Akron as well. Texas Tech I was really high on to go through the season even after we beat them. Until that Toppin injury, and even after the Toppin injury, they were winning some pretty big games even without him. But I think their pace is kind of slowed at the end of the season. I think it's finally starting to catch up to them. So I'm not really, I don't think you can really trust Texas Tech here. And I do think we end up with Michigan and Iowa State in the Elite Eight. I do think Yaxel is the best player in this bracket. And that's no insult to anybody on Iowa State's team or any other team in this bracket, in this pod. But Yaxel has lived up to all of the hype, and I know a lot of people going into this season said, well, you played in a bad conference, so the numbers aren't going to translate to the Big Ten. Well, the numbers translated to the Big Ten very well. I like Iowa State to beat Michigan in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four out of this bracket. I think something really interesting came out of the Purdue win over Michigan, and it was something that I hadn't totally considered. And it was, I had thought the way you're going to beat Michigan this year is to do what Wisconsin did. You're just going to chuck threes up, and you're going to hit 18 of them, and you're going to outscore this Michigan offense. But I think it was incredible watching Purdue play the defense they played and the rebounding game they played, because I think it was the first team to really go up to Michigan and say, you know what, we're either going to all foul out or we are going to make you be uncomfortable with this super physical and super pounding style. Like, it's almost what you expect from Big Ten basketball, right? It's this borderline, boy, that feels like that probably shouldn't be allowed, but you know what? They're allowing it kind of game. Like watching Clough wall up on Mara and I think about that one play where like Yaxel was asking for an out of bounds replay because he just ran right into Clough and lost the ball. That kind of frustration we haven't really seen from Michigan at all this season. And I think Iowa State has more than the capability to do that. I mean, more than Purdue does even. Like, it was awesome to see us play with that level of physicality, but this is a team with great shooting and a lot of length and toughness from like your wings and your outside players. That just feels like the formula to make Michigan uncomfortable and also to generate turnovers, because Michigan turns the ball over at an absurd rate and they usually just shoot themselves out of it. But these past couple games in the Big Ten tournament, maybe it's the Kaysen injury, maybe it's something else. They have not had the same level of offense where I think they can sustain and just say, you know what, we're going to turn the ball over 13 times today, but we're going to also hit 10, 15 threes or whatever, and it's not going to matter. So I do like Iowa State there.
Yeah. That deserves a
Agreed.
little gunshot. Yeah. Way to come in hot there, buddy. That was a full good breakdown there of that region. So let's jump to the South. Florida's region. I look at this as, to me, a scary region. I think Florida got a little screwed here, having to play Vanderbilt, who just beat the absolute brakes off of them. Feels unfortunate for them. And you also get Illinois and Houston in your bracket. I mean, those are three teams that at one point were all kind of fighting for a high 2 or a 1 seed. So interesting here. What are you laughing at, Dalton? What's happening? I don't like when he starts.
The South region is hilarious.
Yeah. Dalton, go ahead with the South region. I'll let you start. You think it's hilarious. So, what do you think?
Yeah.
Thoughts on the South region? Who's gonna come out of here?
Man, give me Houston out of the South. They're shot chuckers this year, but I think that their defensive intensity can wear anybody out in this bracket. I don't foresee anybody giving them problems. And I'm going to chalk this one too. I just think the gap is that big with the 1s and 2s above the other seeds. And I know a lot of people hate chalk, but man, it's like, where do you see Florida going out? Like, maybe Vanderbilt again, but the odds of them beating Florida again, probably not great. And I don't trust Boogie Flan. I don't trust Xavier Lee, but I just don't see anyone else in here that can handle that. They're bigs, man. Condon he's a monster. And then you've got Houston with Tugler, and you've got Flemings, who's a bucket. He can go get a bucket whenever he wants. So give me chalk on this one, and give me Houston coming out of that.
Yeah, Zach, what are your thoughts on this region? Do you see a sleeper team in here? He mentioned chalk. I think I look and I see Illinois, and I think there's a chance if they get hot. But what are your thoughts on this region?
My thoughts are exactly that with Illinois. I think if there is a team outside of the 1 and 2 that can make a deep run, I think Illinois is probably the only one. I don't trust Nebraska at all, as we've already talked about. If Vandy does get to the Sweet 16, I don't see a world where they beat Florida a second time in 2 weeks, especially with the urgency that Florida will obviously have after how it went on Friday or Saturday. Ultimately, I think this is also going to end up with the 1 and 2 in the final game. And this is the one region where I look at it, right now before it started, and the Elite Eight, there's only one Elite Eight that I want, and that is Florida and Houston. And a rematch of last year's national championship game, which was obviously a phenomenal game. I just think, to me, in that region, any Elite Eight other than that is going to feel a little underwhelming to me. I think that this region is meant to be decided between those two. I think there can be a little bit of chaos getting there. Like I think Troy can beat Nebraska. I think Vanderbilt is susceptible to an upset early. But ultimately, I think Houston and Florida are just going to be too much better than everybody else until it gets to that point where, I see Houston getting their revenge this time. I just think they're one of those teams where, they're one of those programs. They kind of feel like Purdue in a sense. Like Matt Painter, he always has his teams right there at the end. Kelvin Sampson is the same way. Houston's teams are always in the mix. They're always at least second weekend, if not Final Four teams. Last year, they were one possession away from winning a national championship finally. And I'd argue this team is just as good, if not better, than last year's team. And I think Florida is obviously very, very good, but I don't think they are last year's Florida team. I think last year's Florida team beats this year's team by double digits. I'm kind of with you guys. I think those two guards can get pestered a little bit by Houston, and I think that they'll end up coming out of it. Houston back to the Final Four.
Yeah. JP Danger says Vandy Elite Eight. Blake, do you agree with this, or are you feeling like a chalk Elite Eight here as well with Houston and Florida?
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite region of the whole tournament. I think it has the most chance for just chaos. I see Houston getting out of it and making it back to the Final Four. I actually think they're going to make it to the national championship game. But I think there's tons of room for craziness. For example, I think St. Mary's is overseeded. I expected them to be a 7 because of the bias that Gonzaga and WCC gets. But I don't think St. Mary's is really a 7. And I think Texas A&M, man, they're not good, but they got size, length, athleticism. I think AG can dominate. I think Rylan Griffin can get some shots up against their defense. So I think Texas A&M is going to upset St. Mary's. It's a 10-7, so not a big upset, but Houston will take care of them. VCU's got a chance. I actually have North Carolina advancing to Illinois, but I think VCU could pull the upset there. And then a lot of people are picking Troy over Nebraska. I already told you guys I'm all in on Nebraska. I think that Florida is going to get frustrated by Iowa, but get by them. And then I think instead of them, they're going to be looking forward thinking they're going to get Vanderbilt. They're not going to get Vanderbilt. They're going to get Nebraska. And Nebraska is an incredibly frustrating defensive to play against, just like Iowa is, but in a completely different way. And I think Xavier Lee is just going to be running around like a chicken with his head cut off and not doing anything good. And I got Nebraska facing Houston and lead 8 with Houston going on.
Yeah, pretty consensus so far. Houston getting through this region, which is both surprising and not surprising, being as who Houston is. They just always find a way, kind of like what Zach said. It's what they do. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this region? And are you with everybody else here? Do you think Houston's the team that gets out of it?
Well, I was going to say the same thing as Blake. 1 and 2 seem chalky, but the rest of the region seems like it's a wild card. Anybody could beat anybody, and the 3 through 16, and so it should make it for an some interesting games to watch. But I have Houston as well going on to the Final Four. That the committee probably set this up like Zach said, so that you had a final championship game rematch, and I think that Houston's just tougher than Florida and will go on.
Yeah, this part of the bracket reminds me of a bracket that has a lot of teams with very high ceilings, but also some low floors. You look at like an Illinois, a Nebraska, a Vanderbilt, teams that can go beat anybody, but also on their worst nights, there's a lot of variance there. So it'll be interesting. Isaiah, what are your takes on this bracket in Florida's region?
Yeah, I think that point about there being a lot of teams that have very high ceilings, but also some questionable lows is perfect for this region, because I think a lot of these teams, they've shown that they can win big games. They've also shown that they can lose some questionable games. I think Illinois is probably the poster child of that in this game, in that, if you have Keith Wagler dropping 46 points on you, yeah, they can go right to the Final Four and steamroll anybody. At the same time, if they go cold, and we know their defense is exploitable, somebody else can get hot. Players get hot in this tournament, and that makes for danger. I am very much intrigued to see Brad Underwood versus Fran McCaffrey again in the first round. That's fun. I don't think Illinois is going to lose that game, but it's pretty funny. I do like VCU over North Carolina. I don't know if VCU is like some juggernaut 11 seed. I just don't have any faith in North Carolina right now. Not just with the injuries. They have not looked like the same team down the stretch post injury. I've not hidden the fact that I am not a fan of Hubert Davis. I don't think he's that good of a coach. So I just don't trust UNC here. As far as the Elite Eight goes, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Illinois has one of those days and they could knock off Houston, but I think Houston is a little bit too consistent. Like we mentioned, you just know what Kelvin Sampson is going to do, and I jokingly call it gimmick ball, but the gimmick works. Right. It works a lot. So I like Houston to get by Illinois there, and I'm going to take Florida to get past Houston, and the reason why I'm going to do it is I think Florida, outside of that Vanderbilt game, and whether they play Nebraska or Vanderbilt, they got to get past that game. But if they can get past that game, I just think overall they have been playing their best ball at the end of the season. And not even just the last month. The last 2 months, they've looked like the Florida team that people kind of thought they were going to get in the preseason. Are they as good as last year's Florida team? No, they're not. I agree. I think they would lose pretty handily to last year's Florida team. But I also don't think this year's Houston team is as good as last year's Houston team. I think we've seen some stretches where Houston has done some really uncharacteristic things. I mean, they lost 3 games in a row in Big 12 play. Kelvin Sampson doesn't do that. So, I think both of these teams have the things that we like about them to be good teams. They also have some things where it's like this isn't quite the same roster. So I'm going to go with Florida here. And as far as chalk goes, too, I don't like it. I think there will be some upsets, but as far as getting to 1 and 2 in the end and picking one, I do think last year we saw a lot more chalk than we did. Is that a emerging trend now with NIL, with things? I don't know. We've only seen one tournament of it. It gave us some elite games once we got to the Elite Eight. But I think that is something to watch this tournament. Like if we get another tournament with a lot of chalk and all the Elite Eight games are 1, 2, maybe a 3 seed, maybe that's something to look out for in future tournaments.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've heard that said before, like, why are we complaining about chalk? You mean the best teams are going to be playing each other in the last week of this tournament? Like, isn't that what we want? Which I agree with to some degree, but the chaos is fun. Everyone likes a little bit of chaos. I have Illinois coming out of this region. I love this region for Illinois, to be perfectly honest. I don't think Houston can score enough points to beat Illinois. And I think if Illinois gets to Florida has 2 non-shooting bigs, and Illinois has a bunch of shooting bigs. And I don't know that they'll be able to step out and guard them and still be able to hold that rebounding dominance. I just like Illinois' draw here. Whether it works out for them or not, I'm not sure. I just really like the way that it broke, personally. All right, let's jump up to the east. We'll go to Duke's region, and then we'll hit Purdue's region last, of course. Duke's region has Duke as the 1 seed, UConn down at the 2 line, and, Kansas, St. John's, Michigan State. This is the region of the legends of coaching. And to be honest with you, my opinion is that Duke got absolutely screwed as the number 1 overall seed here with getting some of these teams. I mean, St. John's is dangerous. You have Kansas, who has maybe the best player in the country. You have Tom Izzo. You have Dan Hurley. That's what you get for a number 1 overall seed. I guess that's the way it breaks. But I'll start with you on this one, Blake. What are your thoughts on this region, and how do you see it breaking?
Well, I mean, the toughest break for Duke is they got Diebler. Man, yeah, John Shire's going to get Dieblered. Nobody's going to see it coming. It's going to happen. We are all going to celebrate it and say, good, at least Painter and Purdue are not the only ones that get Dieblered. But I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. I got Michigan State and UConn in the Elite Eight with Tom Izzo knocking off Dan Hurley in a game where I want both teams to lose, but at the end kind of feel happy that it's Sparty moving on and not UConn. And then I got Ohio State beating Kansas, and it's Ohio State, Michigan State in the Elite Eight. It's kind of my craziest bracket. I went out on the most limb on this region out of all of them. I was pretty much chalk everywhere else for the most part. But yeah, just something about Duke losing their center, losing their point guard. They look off. I think Bruce Thornton has legacy March run, and that's what he's remembered for.
Wow. After 3 years of not making it, he
Yep.
finally gets in,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's game time, baby. Jeff, what do you see in this region?
Yeah, I feel like this is probably the toughest region in my opinion. But I've got, as far as upsets, I think UCLA is playing really well right now. I think Purdue was kind of lucky that they had some injuries when we played them. I mean, they seem to be like on a heater to me, and I feel I've got them beating UConn, and I've got Duke and MSU in the final, kind of like Blake, and I've got MSU. I like their chances against Duke, but they got their point guards injured. I feel like MSU is going to come out on top. So other than that, I've got pretty much chalk most of the way. So.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun bracket no matter how. I just think this is a bracket of elite coaching against elite coaching, and that's always exciting to see. Isaiah, what are your takes on the Duke's bracket here in the East?
Yeah, this is a brutal draw. You get the number 1 overall seed, and you get this this pool of death here. It's tough for Duke because of the injuries, right? They haven't looked like the same team, and I'm really torn on whether I don't even know if I've really decided to take them or to trust them to go to the Final Four because of that. With the Ohio State thing, I don't trust Jake Diebler against anybody that isn't Purdue, but boy, I trust Thornton. And he does seem like the kind of player that would step up in this kind of moment, and he could be the kind of player to just single-handedly will a team to that kind of victory, especially if the injuries do catch up with Duke. I think Northern Iowa is intriguing. It says a lot about the Big East that the Big East regular season and tournament champion is a 5 seed. St. John's is a good team. I don't think they are impervious to a first-round upset. I think they've had nights where they are off. I think you and I plays kind of a style of basketball where you could see that, where it's really slowed down, it becomes sloppy. And you could see an upset there. I really like South Florida over Louisville. I think a lot of people are probably taking that. I don't trust Louisville at all. Basically every chance. I actually saw a Louisville fan tweet this. He's like, every chance we have to win a game that matters, we lose. I don't believe in them. So I think South Florida wins there. And then you get to the bottom, right? You've got 3 of the crabbiest coaches in college basketball here. With Tom Izzo, with Mick Cronin, assuming that UCLA it gets their guys back and can get past UCF, and Dan Hurley. I mean, can you imagine how much it would suck to be the refereeing crew for Mick Cronin versus Dan Hurley?
Yeah, then Tom Izzo, whoever wins that one.
And then you get Tom Izzo.
Brutal.
But one thing that I have been pretty consistent on this year, and I have to be careful with how I tweet it because their fans will find you. No matter, they have notifications on for everything. Is I don't believe in UConn, not at all. And I don't care that they beat us 2 years ago or whatever. I don't believe in them. I just think that now they had a good non-conference, and I'll give them credit for that. But as soon as they have entered Big East play, they've looked like a completely different team. Whether it's some injuries or inconsistencies or whatever, they are very vulnerable. They've lost to multiple really, frankly, bad Big East teams. You can't lose to that Creighton team at home. You can't lose at Marquette and want me to take you. And then you lost. You played St. John's twice or 3 times, and you lost to them twice. I just don't see a reason to trust them. I don't think their shooting is consistent enough to make up for some of their defensive issues, and they have so many defensive issues. So whether it's UCLA that gets them or Michigan State that gets them, I think one of those teams are going to get them. I'm going to go with Michigan State to get them. I'm a little concerned about the injury situation with UCLA, even if Bilodeau and Dent do get back. Are they 100%? Are they really ready to go? It's also Mick Cronin outside of the Pacific time zone, so you have to worry about that. So I will take Michigan State to get out of that. And boy, I'm really tempted to take Michigan State to the Final Four with this draw. I think Michigan State got a really good draw here.
Really good draw. Yep.
And I know MSU fans were upset about not getting the 2 seed. I think you should be really happy about not getting the 2 seed here because I love this pass with them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, Zach, what are your thoughts on this region?
I feel like it's a bit unpopular at this point, just based on your guys' spiels and then everything I've seen on Twitter. But I don't really see Duke having much of an issue. I mean, I think they will be tested a little bit, and the injuries are obviously a bit concerning. But just looking at the top seeds, at least in their bracket, I mean, you got, assuming they get to the Sweet 16, like I think Ohio State is who they go up against in round 2. Obviously, I don't think that, I mean, that's going to be an easy game, but I do think they beat them. But then from there, I mean, if you go chalk, I mean, you get Kansas, who obviously has the best player in the country, but like Derek said, is he going to sit out or is he going to play? And they have been so inconsistent with him being in or out. And I know there was some new revealings that came out about the full body cramps a couple days ago, which obviously is serious, but that doesn't change the fact that there's any given day he may not play. So I mean, if that's the case, you get a very inconsistent Kansas team. You get a St. John's team, which, like we've made very clear at this point, I mean, any team from the Big East, it's extremely hard to trust them. I mean, St. John's obviously had, they won the conference. They had a good run in the tournament, but they don't, outside of UConn twice, they really don't have a whole lot of great wins that you can hang your hat on and be like, okay. I mean, I think it's fair point to make that the Big East regular season champion and the tournament champion is a 5 seed. I mean, there's a reason for that. And so really the top half of the bracket for Duke, I don't really see a whole lot of trip ups. And then on the bottom, I mean, if you want to go with the 2 and the 3, you look at UConn and Michigan State, and I mean, UConn, obviously you have Dan Hurley, and Michigan State, you obviously have Tom Izzo. Like, there's the coaching aspect to that, which obviously on any given day can beat you. But as far as UConn and Michigan State as teams, I mean, I think Michigan State is probably better than UConn at this point. But they're still, both teams are very inconsistent shooting-wise. Michigan State hasn't shot the 3-ball well in years. I mean, that's something that you really have got to have when it comes to March, at least if you want to win multiple games in a row to get to a Final Four. Like we said, I think UConn is out before the Elite Eight, whether it's UCLA or whether it's Michigan State. But even if it is Michigan State and it's Duke in the Elite Eight, I just don't really see Duke having a whole lot of issues. I mean, they are a very complete team. I know they are a little banged up, but Michigan State is not going to outscore them because they don't shoot the ball well enough. And Duke is about as complete as a team that you're going to have this year because, I mean, there's a reason they're the number 1 overall seed. And so, it seems to be a lot of unpopularity with that take, but I really just don't see Duke having a whole lot of issues getting to the Final Four. I mean, I don't think they're going to blow everybody out by any means, but I don't think they're going to be tripped up as much as a lot of people seem to think they might be. It could be wrong, but I see a pretty clear path for them personally to get to Indy.
Yeah, my only thing with Duke is if they catch Kansas and Darren Peterson on a Darren Peterson just legacy run.
It's certainly possible.
He just decides all of a sudden, like, it matters now, and I'm going to go ahead and try here for a couple weeks and see what happens. But again,
that could also with Kansas,
and that could lead to chaos with Kansas too, because that's been a different team than they've been all year. So, Dalton, what are your quick thoughts on this region? Then we'll jump over to Purdue's region.
First off, it won't be quick. This is my show, and I think you forgot that. I'm just kidding. Give me a 3-5 Elite Eight.
What?
3
and 5
5
seed?
Elite Eight. Listen, brother, let me tell you something. Zuby Ejiofor, with a name like that and being a big baller, he's a big boy baller. He's going. He's going to match up well with Boozer. And you tell me who's stopping Michigan State's 2 bigs in that region. Cooper and Kohler are going to have a heyday in this region. And I'm calling it now. Give me MSU to the Final Four. Izzo run. I know everyone's mixed about Izzo here. After talking to Greg Campy, I'm a big Izzo fan. So.
I mean, I think in my mind this region is Michigan State and St. John's, but part of me, with everybody fading UConn, I just get this feeling that Dan Hurley is going to pull something out of his ass. I don't believe in them. I've downed them all year long. I absolutely think they're garbage, but that's exactly when Dan Hurley strikes. and there's just that, like, I don't know, maybe it's like the ghost of 2024 just creeping over my shoulder.
It's just the ghost there. Dan Hurley's never done anything without 4 NBA guys on his roster.
Or without clinging at, I don't want to discount like UConn because they won 2 titles in a row. Like, boy, we would love to have that. But people seem to forget that before that 2 title run, he was on the hot seat. They lost to New Mexico State. They were going to fire him if he didn't have that run where, by the way, basically everybody in front of them lost.
They had the easiest draw on their first title run.
Yeah.
Well,
now credit to them for the year after. They ran through with that super team. They beat us. But I don't know. Is there really anything to that? This is where Dan Hurley just pulls one out because what happened last year? They crashed out in the second round, and his excuse were the refs were against us, which is his excuse every time they lose.
Yeah. No, and I like this comment because there's only one other thing, and it'll be Jeremy Fear's foot, because that is going to happen. His foot's going in Dan Hurley's ass. But I think I'm with you guys. I just, there's something in the back of my brain that's I don't like it. But people forget too, Dan Hurley was the Purdue losing to high seeds before he won those 2 titles. He lost every year to a bad team, and that's what he was known for. So. All right, let's jump to Purdue's region real quick. First, before we do that, I just want to tell anybody who's watching, please like and subscribe. And then we will have a preview out for the Purdue-Queens game this week. We do have the Queens head coach coming on, so we'll be talking with him a little bit before that game, kind of getting a feel for what that program's all about. This is their first year eligible for the tournament, so pretty cool story coming out of there. And it is Queens, North Carolina, not Queens, New York. Oscar Clough was unaware, but we'll let him pass. He's Australian. Excited to ask the coach about that because I did see he quote tweeted that on Twitter, so pretty cool. All right, let's get to the region that truly matters and the only one that truly matters, and that is the West, Arizona's region, but as I like to call it, Purdue's region. I think Arizona kind of got the short end of the stick in this region. Wisconsin and Arkansas, 2 teams that I think could be the 2 biggest giant killers at the 4 and 5 lines. You don't want to see Wisconsin if you're a top team. And Arkansas has arguably the best guard in all of the tournament. And Jerry Acuff is just nasty if you watch him play basketball. Purdue draws Gonzaga. I'll start with you on this one, Jeff. What are your thoughts on this bracket as a whole, Purdue's draw? Do you think there's a chance Purdue slips up anywhere? And if so, where? And do you think Arizona cruises, or do they get caught by one of these Wisconsin or Arkansas teams? Uh-oh. Put the money in the jar, Jeff.
I don't know if he's muted or not.
Is he not? Can anyone else hear him?
We lost your audio, Jeff.
Let me check on his audio.
We'll skip over. Isaiah, go ahead. Go ahead now for now, Isaiah, and then we'll skip back around to him and see if it fixes.
Yeah, this is a tough bracket. I mean, I've been high on Arizona all year. I think they have been one of the most complete, most consistent teams in college basketball. But they do get a lot of games where you can hypothetically lose. I mean, a lot of teams that are capable of beating a good, complete team. I see a lot of people already hyping up High Point over Wisconsin, and I don't see it. It's a good joke. It's a good joke to say Greg Gard got paired up with the gimmick. The guy who shoots like 0 from a billion from 2, but like 70% from 3. But I think we saw last year that High Point also was, supposedly the lock of the century to beat us, and they didn't compete at all. So I think Wisconsin gets past that. I think Wisconsin's playing really, really good basketball. I think they have guys that can consistently shoot. This is not your normal Greg Gard team where you need a Brad Davison to be dirty in the post and to muck everything up and to make it sloppy and bait calls and stuff. These guys can just go out there and shoot and out tough you, and I think that plays in the tournament. I think the style that they are playing suits them. So I like them to, at minimum, the Sweet 16. I think they get past Arkansas. And I think they can beat Arizona. They've beaten Arizona recently too. They played, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. They played that crazy game in Madison, and the final score was like 90. It was into the hundreds, actually. I think somebody got into the hundreds. I mean, um, so I think Wisconsin is very capable of winning that game. On the bottom side in Purdue's pod, I don't ever like to say when people say, like, can Purdue slip up? Well, we know that Purdue can slip up. We've seen that many times. What are the chances of Purdue slipping up? Well, are we going to play the ball that we played in the Big Ten tournament? Because if they're going to play that physical, they're going to look that determined, it's going to be hard to beat this Purdue team. So I like them to get out of St. Louis. I'm not worried at all about, though, they're playing Missouri and St. Louis. Our fans are still going to outnumber Mizzou fans. I think they're going to get BYU in the Sweet 16. I know that BYU has some injuries. I still think that's a team that's capable of putting up some points and going on a bit of a run. And I don't really believe in this Gonzaga team. I do respect Mark Few. I think Mark Few is a really, really good coach. And I do think this Gonzaga team is very good defensively. But I just worry about the fact that they had multiple WCC losses. And I think unlike past years where I could look in the non-conference and say, okay, you know what, Gonzaga slipped up against St. Mary's or whatever. That's fine because they beat top 10 Team A, top 10 Team B, top 10 B, Team C in the non-conference. They didn't really do that this year. They got 40-pieced by Michigan, and then they're kind of relying on UNC and what is Kentucky their next best win?
St. Mary's maybe?
Doesn't really mean anything. Yeah, the St. Mary's, yeah, I guess on the news, and they beat Santa Clara, I guess, in the champ game of the WCC, and I do like Santa Clara to beat Kentucky. I just don't know if I trust this Gonzaga team. I'm sure the defense can frustrate teams enough, but I think you can outscore them even with that. So I'm going to take BYU over them, and I think Purdue will get past BYU. I do have Purdue against Arizona in the Elite Eight game. Right now, I'm going to give the lean trying to be neutral. I'm going to give the lean to Arizona. I think we are fully capable of winning that game, and I think if the Purdue team that showed up against Michigan in the Big Ten tournament is going to show up against Arizona, I think it's going to be hard to beat this Purdue team on that kind of mission. But right now I'm going to give a slightly into Arizona just because I really respect the season that they've put together and the consistency they've shown.
Yeah, for sure. I think that most Purdue fans would agree if it comes down to Purdue, Arizona, we'll take it. And we'll see we'll let the cards play out, how the cards play out. If you give me a Elite Eight against a number 1 seed, I'll take it all day long and, give them our best shot. If you want to win a national title, you got to go through teams like Arizona. You got to go through teams like Michigan, Iowa State. You just have to. And we're battle tested and we've been through it. So Jeff, can you talk now?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, he's back.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm on cellular. So anyway, what I was saying was that, Purdue, like I said earlier, they got my dog's bothering me here. Sorry. They got lucky with their draw here, I think. But I'm a little worried about that second round game against, I'm thinking it's going to be Mizzou. And, I know Isaiah was thinking that, there's not going to be a lot of Mizzou fans there, but St. Louis is a huge Mizzou country. I mean, the local media, that's who they follow. It's Mizzou. You got tons of Mizzou alumni. So I think that's going to probably be 70 or 80% Mizzou fans at that game. So, I think Mizzou is not very good, but, if the crowd gets into our heads a little bit, that could be an issue. But I still have Purdue getting past them. I think that one of my favorite games that I'm looking forward to is where is it? Arizona and Arkansas. I've got them meeting up in the what would that be? The
Sweet 16.
Yeah, the Sweet 16. I think that's going to be a great game. Arkansas is kind of on a heater right now and should be really entertaining, but I've got Arizona coming out on top. I've got Purdue and Arizona meeting in the sweet or the Elite Eight. I think Purdue just seems like we're firing on all cylinders. I feel like we're gonna come out on top and make it to our second Final Four. So
Yeah, be the second Final Four in 3 years too. Pretty incredible
Right.
stuff. And everybody said that we couldn't do it without Edie, so I'd love to see us do it. So I'll go down to you, Zach. What are your thoughts on this region? How do you feel about Purdue? And are there any upsets in this region? I just don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess I think it's really interesting for Arizona just having Wisconsin and Arkansas in their little half of it, just because of how well the guards have been playing for both of those teams, and how well both those teams have been playing as a whole. I will say, though, I do think, I mean, this is kind of my hot upset take of the tournament. I do think that the biggest upset, at least in my bracket, comes from this little quadrant, and that is, when you look at big upsets with double-digit seeds, a lot of times it is teams that obviously can score it, but more so teams that play at a super slow pace, teams that really just make you have to make every single possession very much worth it. And Purdue has obviously gotten caught multiple times over the years, failing to do so against teams that really slow it down. I think Hawaii's got a shot to beat Arkansas. I know it's a really big kind of hot take, but Hawaii has a lot of size. Hawaii plays at an extremely slow pace, and outside of A-Cup, I mean, I know Arkansas is playing well, but they just come across to me as a team that can really be flustered by a team like Hawaii that just really slows it down, makes you play in the half court, makes you earn every single point you get. It may not happen. It probably won't. But, I feel like when you make your bracket, you got to find some 13 or 14 that you like. And Hawaii is mine this year. I really like their chances compared to most of the other 13s. But if that doesn't happen, I am very much, my game of the region would be a Wisconsin-Arkansas second-round game. My bracket does not have that happening with Hawaii winning. But if it does, then I think that game can be absolutely fantastic. Regardless, I do think Wisconsin gets to the Sweet 16 and plays Arizona, and I think that game is going to be one must-see television. That is going to be a fantastic game. Going on to the bottom, I really like Purdue's setup, as we talked about at the beginning. Snagging that last 2 seed, we know with all of the bracketologists and Lenardi and everything the last few weeks posting up new projections every single day and whatnot. It seems like among Purdue people, at least on Twitter, the common consensus was if we can just get Gonzaga on our side, if we can find a way to sneak into that last 2, or just find a way to have Gonzaga in our region and run into them, then we'll live and die with everything else. So I think having Gonzaga as our 3 is huge. Now, whether they even get there or not, I mean, I think they're going to have to go through BYU to get there, and that's obviously going to be a tall task in itself. But I think Purdue is kind of on a collision course to at least the Elite Eight here. I really like their half of it. I think all the matchups are very favorable for them. As far as the top, I mean, Arizona or Wisconsin, I think however it gets to that point, that's where it's going to end up. And I think, I would love a rematch with Wisconsin. I know we beat them once, but there's a very sour taste on how senior day went, or at least how it ended up. I would love another opportunity at them. But even then, if it's Arizona, I mean, you just roll the dice. And like I said, if they play the way they did yesterday, I'm not sure there's very many teams that I would say comfortably are going to beat Purdue right now, just with how they looked over the last 4 days. And so, like I said at the very beginning, I'm on that train of this is always how it was meant to be. This group obviously lost to a 16 seed. They lost the national championship. It was all led up to a Final Four being in Indianapolis, and I think that's where they end up. Whether they win it or not, I don't know, but I think they get there, and I think it's going to be Wisconsin or Arizona that they beat to do it.
Yeah, like that. And if anybody has never watched Hawaii, they play 100% no-switch defense. It is outrageous. Like a lot of people from Purdue have been clamoring for stop switching. Well, watch Hawaii, and you'll get a taste of what that looks like, because they do not switch anything. It is put your man in front of you and guard him, or you're going to get beat, and it's going to be obvious who got beat. I kind of love it, if I'm being real honest with you. That's old school basketball right there. That's what you got to teach the kids. Blake, what are your thoughts on this region? I want to ask you and Dalton specifically, because nobody's really touched on it. Do you see a world where either this 7 or 10 seed becomes a problem for Purdue, whether it's Missouri or Miami?
Yeah, so I could see Miami being a little bit of a problem for us. You know, they handled Louisville, and Louisville got a 6 seed, and Miami's a 7 seed. Miami is 3rd in the ACC. Louisville is 6th. I think, you know, I said earlier there wasn't much wrong with seeding. I think Miami could be a little bit underseeded, perhaps. They could have been worthy of a 6, perhaps. They got some talent on the roster. I don't think they'll beat us. I think we get through them. Missouri, you know, getting the home crowd, it's gonna be interesting. I think that 7-10 game between Miami and Missouri is gonna be an interesting game. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by Miami. I could see Kennesaw State knocking off Gonzaga when you made us pick the at least one 13 seed or higher that got upset. They were one of the options on my table. In my actual bracket, I'm gonna have Gonzaga getting through, but I could see Kennesaw State getting the upset there over the Zags. And then I can see Texas being a little bit of a surprise team here. They didn't play well against better competition, but I mean they got Tremont Mark, they got Dylan Swain, they got Matas in the center, that huge monster guy. They got Cam Heidi. You know, like you never know when Cam Heidi's just gonna go 5 6 for 3 randomly, right? And so I could see Texas getting through, upsetting a few different teams and making a run there. So that's what I got there. And then moving up, I do have Wisconsin and Arkansas facing off, and that's my elite game of this region. I think that could be just awesome to see. And I got Arizona getting through, though. I don't think anybody can really handle their size, their physicality until they play Purdue. And like you said, Derek, like we get Purdue and Arizona as long as we give it the best shot. Like I'm gonna let the cards just fall where they may. Hoping we win. But I'll be picking Arizona in my bracket.
Love it. Dalton, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know why no one in this whole thing has said one word about Utah State and the challenge that they could present to Arizona.
They got shafted on their seed.
I mean, Utah State's a tough team, man. They're like 30th in KenPom. I mean, they're not bad. Like 28th offensive efficiency and like 43rd maybe in defensive. But yeah, let's be realistic. Arizona's gonna dog walk the shit out of them. So I was just
nobody's talking about it, but they're gonna get their asses.
I was just trying to be different, you know. I gotta be cool. So
everybody said that when we faced them as a 9 seed too, and you know.
Yeah, I will say I do like them, but I'm with you. It's also the Mountain West in the tournament, and we know how that usually goes.
Give me Wisconsin over Arizona to the Elite Eight. We got a Purdue All Big Ten matchup in the Elite Eight, and Purdue gets Wisconsin to go back. I do see Miami giving us issues. I will say that. Miami will give us issues, and it'll probably make you sweat your balls off that whole game because they're good, and they have a lot of talent. Trey Donaldson and Malik Renew. The reason I say we beat Miami coming out of that is because they allow Malik Renew to shoot threes. So that is all I need to know about a team to know that Purdue will beat them. I find the BYU Texas matchup intriguing. I don't know. Arkansas is going to dog walk Hawaii. They're just really good. And that Wisconsin-Arkansas matchup is going to feed families for sure. So exciting bracket. Very exciting.
Who do you have coming out of it?
Purdue. Of course.
There we go.
You think I am some kind of traitor, bro? You crazy?
Trader Joe's. What?
You think I'm Trader Joe, dude?
I think Purdue got a perfect draw for what they could ask for. There ain't no way Malik Renew and Trey Donaldson are beating this Purdue team. Two players that couldn't make it at other Big Ten schools, so they had to go chase a paycheck and get haircuts. So I don't understand it. But yeah, I just think Purdue is set up perfectly. I don't think there's a team in their side outside of a DeBonsa freak game that can beat them. And I think Arizona's going to have problems. I don't know necessarily that they're going to lose, but they're gonna be scared, and they're gonna be in positions that they're not comfortable with. And I think that by the time they get to Purdue, I think Purdue gets there relatively easily, in my opinion. And I think that Arizona's going to be a little shaking in their boots a little bit. Like, man, we almost lost to this team, or we almost lost to this team, or whoever it is. Like you guys said, Utah State, and then you go from that into either Wisconsin, the giant killer, or Arkansas, one of the best guards in the country, just to then get Purdue after that. So I think that their path's actually extremely tough. But all right, thank you guys for all that. Obviously, we're going to run a couple last little segments here and get out of here. We're approaching 2 hours, so I don't want to keep you guys too much longer.
Told you it was a marathon, boys.
I know when you get 6 people talking, it just takes a little bit of time. But I'm going to combine this next one. This is just upset picks. I just want everybody to go through. Give me 1 12/5. That's always a historically really popular upset pick. Give me 1 13 seed or higher that can win a game. And give me 1 double-digit seed that can make the Sweet 16. I will start with Dalton on this one. So if anybody needs to think, then they can think. And I know Dalton's just going to make this shit up off the top of his head.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the question, so I'll pass on to Zach. Zach can go first.
My 12 seed is Akron. I just think Texas Tech it's been a slow kind of snowball for them ever since the first couple of games without JT Toppin, and Akron shoots the lights out of it. I like Akron a lot. I don't really love any of the other 12 seeds, to be honest. So Akron was an easy pick for me. Like I said in the last segment, I mean, the 13 seed I've got is Hawaii. I think Troy could get Nebraska. I know I've seen a lot of buzz about Troy, and whatever 3 or 4 seed that gets them is going to be in some deep water. I don't know so much. I mean, I think one of those two can win. I'm not sure either of them will, obviously. I mean, it's still a pretty bold upset, but those would be my 2. And then if I had to pick one double-digit seed to make a little bit of a run, I would probably go with 11 seed USF up in the East. I like them. I like them against Louisville a lot. And then against Michigan State, I mean, you never know. Like we talked about, USF is a high-scoring offense, and Michigan State does not shoot it well. They just defend it really well. And so if Michigan State just can't hit anything and USF just has one of those nights, then it's certainly possible. Like I know it's been pretty consensus. We all think Michigan State's going to make quite a run. But I think if there is a double-digit seed, I think USF would probably be my pick.
Yeah, love that. Blake, 12/5, 13 plus winning a game and a double-digit to the Sweet 16. Who you got?
Yeah, a little bit like Zach. I don't really see 12s this year having favorable matchups. So in my bracket, I don't have Akron over Tech, but for the sake of this exercise, I said, yeah, Akron over Tech is the one. And then 13 seeds winning, I don't see it this year either, but I'm going to take Kennesaw State over Gonzaga as my choice. And then double-digit seed makes Sweet 16. I think Texas. I just kind of said it in my last review, but I think this West region has the chance for some higher seeds to make a run. I see chaos in some other regions, especially in the Midwest, or in the South. But I see a lot of chalk this year. This region, though, has some chances for some higher seeds to make it in.
Yeah, for sure. Where am I at? Jeff? Hold on, let me unmute you. You're muted, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
No, I'm
hear me?
unmuted. You're
Okay.
good. Yep.
Okay. I'm with everybody else on Akron. I think that, not only do I think that they have a shot at getting past Texas Tech in the first round, but then you have, like I said earlier, Alabama with their player that just got the drug charges on them that I think they're going to be shorthanded too. So they got a chance maybe to get to the Sweet 16 going against them. But other than that, I really don't think there's any double-digit teams that I see getting past the Sweet 16. I mean, I feel like all the single-digit, all the top teams are just too strong. I just don't see anybody getting past the Sweet 16. But that's why I love the NCAA tournament. I hope there's some surprise and a Cinderella story, but I just don't see it happen.
It's fair. It's fair. Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jeff. Oh, we lost him.
Man.
But I'm kind of with him on the idea of like trying to find that Cinderella. Like I think again with NIL, I really do subscribe to the theory that we're not going to see. I hate to bring up bad memories, but we're not going to see the St. Peter's kind of run anymore. It's just really hard for those schools to do that now. So as far as the upsets go, I like Northern Iowa over St. John's. I'm going to take Northern Iowa as my 12. I am going to trust Texas Tech, despite being shorthanded, to take care of Akron, even though I think Akron is a really, really good 12 seed. The 13 I'm going to take, I know a lot of people have talked about Troy. I think Nebraska is going to be too motivated to get their first tournament win. It's first tournament win in program history. I think they've done too much this season to lose it there. So I think Nebraska gets past them. I'm going to take Hofstra over Alabama. We've all been talking about Alabama losing in the second round. What if they lose in the first round? I don't think Hofstra is again, your prototypical like juggernaut 13, 12 seed where everybody's going to be picking this team to win. But I think it's more of a fate of Alabama. I just think even outside of the recent kind of chaos and turmoil that Alabama has pulled themselves into, this Alabama team has just not scared me at all this season. It's not just Purdue going into Tuscaloosa early and beating them. All games they lost in SEC play, they are so reliant on the Nate Oates throw a bunch of threes up, and if we don't hit, then we're not winning. And I think that's a really dangerous game because if you're cold in that first round and that double-digit seed starts to smell path and they get a little bit of a lead and you start pressing and you're reliant on hitting threes but you're pressing, I just think that's a bad formula for Alabama. So I like Hofstra to pull the upset there. And then as far as a double-digit seed to make a run, like I said, I don't think there's a lot of potential past the Sweet 16, and it's not the most fun pick because it's not a 15, 14, whatever. But I think I probably would go with like a South Florida type team as well. Even though I like Michigan State to make a run, I just don't like the path that a lot of these other double-digit seeds have. Like I like Santa Clara in the first round over Kentucky, but I don't like them against Iowa State. I like VCU in the first round over North Carolina, but I can't take them over Illinois in the second round. So I think if one of them does kind of sneak through, I think maybe Michigan State has one of those games where they just cannot shoot at all. South Florida, pretty physical, pretty tough team, could beat Sparty at their own game kind of thing. I think that's where you probably look.
Yeah. Dalton, are you aware of the question yet?
Yeah, I think I picked up on it. I was trying to handle the chat, man. It's out of control in there. Give me, I talked about Vanderbilt earlier. Give me McNeese as the 12 over Vanderbilt. SEC teams sometimes underperform, sometimes overperform, as we've seen in recent years. I didn't realize how decent McNeese is. 28-5. I mean, no matter you're a D1 program, to go, 28-5 is impressive. So give me them over Vanderbilt. For my run, I'm gonna pick something. If I have to pick one, a Sweet 16 run. Fran's going FranCon, baby. Penn's making a run.
Do they just make the Elite Eight and play Iowa? And Iowa just a legacy run for Iowa versus Fran McCaffrey Penn?
I don't think Ben is capable of getting a team to the Elite Eight quite yet. Give him about 20 years. But we're going FranCon 7, Sweet 16, Penn. Give me it's all in the same bracket. Chaos. And then what was the last one? I lost it, bro.
Just a 13 seed. You kind of covered 2 with 1 there, because it was a 13 seed win. Yeah. You took obviously the lazy man's way and less work.
Dude, we're 2 hours into my attention span's 11 seconds.
Hey, well, we're almost done. You got to rally, bud. This is the Big Ten tournament. We're here. This is Purdue rallying. You got to come back here.
All right.
I'll hit mine real. My 12 over 6 is the same or 12 over 5 is the same as Dalton's. I think that McNeese is probably the best chance at the 12 seed to win. My double-digit seed to make the Sweet 16, I don't think we've even mentioned one time, is SMU. I think they have a cakewalk against Miami of Ohio in the first 4. Then they play a Tennessee team that's been wildly inconsistent. And then they get Virginia, theoretically. I don't buy any of those teams. And I think SMU is just an athletic freak of a basketball team. And they can get going and they can beat just about anybody. So give me them to make a Sweet 16 appearance and kind of shock the world a little bit. You know, one of those first 4 teams always goes on a run every single year. There's something to getting one of those first games and getting the flow of the tournament and winning 3 games in 6 days. And I think that that's going to be a team that does it. My 13 seed winning, I can't remember even who I had. It was it was not one that anybody had said yet, but I've done forgotten what. Oh, it was North Dakota State over Michigan State. I said it earlier. I'm not a Michigan State believer. Haven't been all year. And North Dakota State's a heck of a basketball team. They can put points on the board, and I believe they can play it at the style of Michigan State. And I think Michigan State's physicality, kind of some of the cheap stuff that they do, is going to cost them in a big moment in the tournament. And I could see it happening in the first round where they get called for a play late, maybe a Fears weird technical where you get free throws the ball. It's a 6-7 point play, 6-7 point swing. So give me that. All right, let's jump to the last question I have here before we get to the rapid fire and get out of here. That would be, who is one team in this tournament? I would say obviously not a 1 seed. That's not necessarily like a super upset pick, but who's the team that you think can make a run to a Final Four that nobody else is really talking about? You know, everybody wants to go all chalk in this tournament. All the 1s and 2s are going to dominate the Final Four. I'm not sold. You know, my hot take obviously is that there is no 1 seed that's going to make the Final Four. And I'm sticking by that. I'm going to hold true to that. Once you make a take like that, you can't just back down from it. So here I come. I'll start with you, Jeff. Hopefully we can get some good audio this time. Who's your team that you think can make a run? I mean,
Muted.
I got your back. Nope, he's still muted. It won't even let me unmute you. You're master muted. All right, we'll come back to you, Jeff. Let me go to Blake.
Nebraska ball, man. I'm telling you, everybody's sleeping on those Huskers. They got up to number 5 in the nation. You know, they started off hot, and then they ran into some tough teams, lost some tough games. But I think if you haven't played against their style of basketball, it's something that's hard to prep for on a short turnaround and tourney time. They got senior leaders. They got toughness. They got shot makers. I really love Nebraska ball, man. I think they might surprise people. I still have Houston making it out of there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see what happens with Nebraska.
Zach, who you got? Who's your team nobody's talking about? It's going to make a Final Four.
I mean, my Final Four is pretty chalk. Not a whole lot of lower seeds making too deep of runs, but I guess if there was a couple teams that I would point at, one of them that I definitely don't think is going to make a Final Four for obvious reasons, but I still think is a bit of a sneaky dark horse is BYU. I think their run would end with us, but I do think that they are a team. Having a player like AJ is always a scary sight for any opponent. I think they have flown very much under the radar just with their injuries and their really rough finish to the season. But when you have a player like that, I mean, it's kind of the same deal with Kansas. Like, they haven't been very consistent, but if you get them on their day, there isn't a team that they can't beat. And then I guess maybe not so much not talked about, but if I had to take a lower seed to make a bit of a run, I'd probably lean more towards UCLA if they can get Bilodeau and Dent back. Obviously, they are playing very, very confident and inspired basketball as of late. They finished the regular season really strong. Obviously, they had us on the ropes even without both of them. So if they can get them back, I mean, like we said, I like them against UConn. And then if they see Michigan State again is a team that they don't shoot well, and that is something that I hold a lot of weight in when it comes to picking teams in March. If they don't shoot well consistently, I struggle to send them very far in my bracket personally. So UCLA as a 7 is a team that I could see maybe making a Elite 8. I guess I don't think anybody's going to knock off Duke in that region. But if I had to take a lowest seed to maybe get an opportunity at them, I would probably say UCLA.
That's fair. Let's go to Isaiah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Wisconsin. I don't know if it's like a nobody is talking about them for a run, but I do think the position in the bracket they're in, with Arizona as their 1 seed, with Arkansas as their 4 seed, with Purdue as their 2 seed, I think a lot of people would be going at it at a lens of, okay, this Wisconsin team is good, but they're playing all these teams, they're gonna trip up somewhere. But I just think this Wisconsin team is different than other Wisconsin teams. Again, this is not your typical, Greg Gard mud ball. This is a team that shoots a lot of threes and can make a lot of threes consistently. This is a team with a post that has developed really well with their forwards. They're playing. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy's name because I'll butcher it. But their forward is playing really, really well right now. I think they have the balance. To play tournament style basketball again. Like Zach mentioned, team that can shoot the ball. Wisconsin can shoot the ball this year. It's not like a Michigan State style team, and I think they can catch. I think they can catch Arkansas. I think they can catch Arizona and match up really well. And obviously, I don't want them to beat Purdue if we play in the Elite Eight again, but I think they could outshoot us if things came to that again. So I think Wisconsin would be my team.
Okay. Jeff, can we hear you?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like Illinois has a shot at being making some noise and possibly going to the Final Four with, if they go on a heater, like with, Wagler and the rest of the gang. I feel like they've got the firepower to do it. And, I feel like they could just beat. If they're playing their best, I feel like they could go to the championship game. But the problem with them is you never know what you're going to get. Them up and down. So, but I feel like that's my biggest upset pick there.
Very true. Dalton, do you have one?
Yeah, my sleeper is Tennessee. I think they're slept on in that lower Midwest bracket. They would be an Elite Eight with Michigan probably, and I think they're kind of built. They're a team that could play with Michigan. They're long and they got some big boys down low that could battle. So I think Tennessee as a 6 is a sleeper run pick for me.
Yeah, I'm going to take a weird route here, and it's not so much the seed line, it's the fact that everyone is fading them. But when I look, everybody's talked about how fair or favorable Michigan State's bracket is because they got UConn in it. I think the same thing can apply to UConn. It's not that I think that they're good, but in my eyes, they could end up playing a UCLA damaged team or a UCF team that they should be able to beat, even if they're not the best version of UConn. And then there's a world where Michigan State, a lot of people are picking South Florida to the Sweet 16. Louisville, even without Michael Brown, can score the hell out of the ball, and Michigan State does not score a ton of points. I think there's a world where UConn kind of sleepwalks against some lower-level competition into a game against Duke, and at that point, anything can happen. And you're telling me if Dan Hurley gets another shot at a Final Four in a year, everybody's fading him, that he ain't going to make something happen. I hate UConn. I hate even making this take, but it just seems like the thing every year in March Madness. It's kind of like Wisconsin. Everybody's picking Wisconsin to make a run. I could see them losing in the first round. It happens every year where one of these Cinderellas or one of these teams that everybody's fading that is good makes a deep run. So, all right, let's real quick. I'm going to hit a few quick hitters, and then this is just kind of one-word answer. There's no explanation really needed. And then we'll get out of here with our Final Four picks and national champion pick and call it a night. I appreciate you guys staying on this long. These shows can be a marathon, especially, if it was just me and Dalton going over the bracket, it would probably be an hour and a half. So adding 4 more faces, it can go. So I'll just ask, and we'll go around the horn here. First question is the first 1 seed that's eliminated in this bracket. I don't need an explanation. I just need who do you think it is. I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Duke. I feel like they've shown they're susceptible. They're got some injuries. I feel like they could be the first one to go down. So
Yep. Like it. Dalton?
Arizona.
Yep. Zach?
Arizona.
Blake?
Duke.
Isaiah?
Arizona.
Man, all Duke and Arizona. Give me Michigan. Bad vibes. I didn't like what I saw from a team standpoint. They were getting mad at each other. Yax was yelling at everybody. Didn't like the vibes in that tournament. Think that they finally faced adversity and found out that they weren't able to break through it. So let's go to best coach in the tournament. I think it's pretty easy to say which pod has the best coaches, but who's the best coach in the tournament? Start with you this time, Dalton.
Purdue.
Purdue's not a coach.
Well, we all know what I mean. No explanation.
Fair enough. Zach.
I mean, it's hard for me at this point not to say Dan Hurley, just with 2 national championships in the last 3 years. But you throw Sampson in there, you throw Painter, Tom Izzo. I mean, it's hard to pick just one. Theirs are probably my top 4.
Yep. Blake.
So I'm taking it specifically in this bracket and who I think is going to get his team somewhere, and people are going to say it's because of the coaching. I think TJ Otzelberger. I think he gets the job done. I think they upset Michigan. I think they make it to the Final Four. And I think Otz gets praised. I think he's really worthy of, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I love Otzelberger. If Purdue ever parted ways with Painter and there was a way we could get him, I would take him next. Isaiah.
I'm gonna go with Tom Izzo. I know he's crabby. I respect the guy.
He is a crabby bastard. I'm going to go Kelvin Sampson. Just the consistency that he's had with that program has been incredible. Let's go to Jeff, you got a best coach?
yeah, I mean, obviously everybody's probably thinking Painter, but I got Izzo on that list too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we actually had a pretty good variety there. Otzelberger, Izzo, Painter, Hurley. There's Sampson. There's a lot of good coaches right now that are kind of the new guard when all the old guard just left. So yeah, no Dusty May. Dusty May, he's not even in the top 64. So
Epstein Island.
Epstein Island. Here we go. Best guard in the tournament. This can be whatever you think of as a guard. Best guard in the tournament. I will start with Zach.
Number 41 for Purdue, Braden Smith.
Like, oh,
Blake.
Number 3 for Purdue, Braden Smith.
hey.
Isaiah.
Braden Smith when he switches from number 3 to 41.
Oh God, we're running out.
All
We're
right.
running out. Jeff Nestor.
I like all the obviously Braden Smith, but all the I think the Big Ten's just got some great guards in it. So you got Dent and Fears, so many good guards. So, but Braden
Smith. Dalton.
Smith's the best.
Jeff said Big Ten's got some Greg guards. You know what I'm saying? So a little play on words. Anyways, give me Fletcher Lawyer.
Heck yeah.
Whatever, guys. Take all the easy answers.
I've got 2, the Wizard of Westfield, Braden Smith, and CJ Cox. So they all play for Purdue. Now, if I had to pick one outside of Purdue, I would go Darius Acuff. I think that dude is a special talent at the guard. See, he's more of a wing to me, but hey, whatever. Absolute most dangerous mid-major, and I'll even say you can include the WCC in this. Let me start with Blake.
I got St. Louis. Give me the Billikens.
Yeah. Isaiah?
I'm going to stick with Northern Iowa. I've hyped them up enough.
Okay. Jeff?
I'm not a big fan of really any of the majors this year, but if I both want to say Akron.
All right. Dalton?
Yeah. Give me Akron as well. Hot on them. I think they're good. I think they're real good.
Do you think they're real good?
Nope. Too far.
Nope. Zach?
I, too, am going with the Zips of Akron. I think
Other
they're
teams
win.
like Akron. Hey, a quick question. I need a ruling here. Is VCU count?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm taking.
8-10 is
Give me
mid-major.
VCU because they're going to take down North Carolina.
Let's go.
And that's going to be fun. All right, we kind of hit on this earlier, but for the sake of this, so we'll make most likely to bust brackets. This, like I said, this could be a UConn style, or it could be somebody else. Who's the team that's most likely to bust brackets early and everybody go, damn it?
I got VCU, so I got them
okay.
to beat North Carolina too. So I chose St. Louis for my mid-major guy, but then VCU for most likely to break brackets.
Man, you picked Ohio State to beat Duke, and you went with VCU.
Oh, yeah. I guess I was thinking like my flow of thought was a mid-major, but that's a good point. Yeah, I should probably just leave Ohio State in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'll go counterclockwise. Zach.
I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna stay out west with the Rainbows out in Hawaii.
Hey, got it. Consistency matters. Dalton.
St. John's is a bracket buster. No one's believing in them. They're going to do things that you don't like to your bracket.
Fair. Jeff.
I go one way again. I've got pulling up off of both Houston and Florida, and mess up everybody's brackets all across the country.
Okay. Isaiah.
I'm going to go with UCLA. I think everybody's going to have UConn too far, and I think UCLA can get them.
I like that. I'm going to go with Purdue because they're going to win the national title, and everybody likes to fade Purdue that's not a Purdue fan. So that's going to be my pick. Best possible Elite Eight game that you can find in this entire bracket. Let's start with Jeff this time. Uh-oh.
Jump it.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The Purdue game is going to be a great game. So, you know, it's going to be the favorite one for me, just because I get to see Purdue go into the Final Four after we win.
Okay, Dalton.
Give me Iowa State, Michigan as the best Elite Eight matchup, the most exciting, the most powerhouse teams. Give me that matchup.
All right, Zach.
I'm gonna stick with my South region. Any Elite Eight other than this, I'm gonna be disappointed. I want Florida and Houston. I want to see that rematch and see what we get from that this time around.
Yeah. Blake, it looked like you were agreeing with somebody.
Yeah, I like Dalton's pick with Michigan, Iowa State. I think that's the best. But also, Jeff thinks Purdue and Arizona could be an elite game. And with Zach, I would love to see that matchup. Would love to see Houston just give it to Florida. I can't stand Todd Golden.
Yeah. Isaiah?
Iowa State, Michigan, two really good teams, and frankly, a result that I'm hoping for, and you can probably guess what that is out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State and Michigan, throughout the year, if you just rank top performances, they got to have a couple of the best.
They look
at
great.
Those two teams at their peak are dangerous. I'll go Duke and Michigan State just because I feel like that's an elite matchup just from a brand standpoint and the coaching standpoint. I'd like to see Tom Izzo one last ride here and make a Final Four and then retire. Let's go. I'm going to skip one here. How many one seeds are going to make the Final Four? I'll start out 0. And then I'll go to Blake. Blake thinks 1.
Yep.
Who is your 1?
Arizona. But in my heart of hearts,
God.
in my heart of hearts, I want us to be there. But I think Arizona is the only one that makes it through.
Unbelievable. Isaiah.
I'm going to take 2.
Okay. You want to name them?
Yeah, I'm most confident, I think, on where do I got my bracket? I'm actually most confident on Florida. So I think Florida makes it, and I think Duke makes it.
Fair. Jeff?
I've got 1. I think it's going to be Michigan, and I know everybody's thinking Michigan's a little bit down recently, but I feel like they're more they're coasting right now into the tournament and saving the best for the final 6 games here. So
Yeah, before I
Michigan's
go
my pick.
okay. Before I go to Dalton, Connor, and Rickus, I have no idea why anyone would say that Michigan fans are anything but complete and total idiots. So I had an entire week of my life wasted talking to those morons. So whoever says that they're not idiots, good on you. I hope you've had great conversations with them. The ones that I've encountered are the worst people that I've ever met. Dalton, who is your how many one seeds are going to make the Final Four?
Two.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And Zach?
I've also got 2 as well.
Okay. Nobody with 3 or 4 though. I think a lot of people are going to be tricked into going real chalky this year because of what happened last year. And my take isn't that the 1 seeds aren't great. It's that the 5 to 20 range is much better than people are giving it credit for. And I think that there's a lot more good teams. Maybe they're not all great, but there's a lot more good teams than there normally are. Final 4 level, Elite 8 caliber teams than most years where there's only maybe 10 to 12. All right, last one of this round. How many Big Ten teams make the Sweet 16? And if you want to go ahead and go further, you can say how many you think make the Final Four. I'll start with you, Isaiah.
Okay, I need to do some math here. So I'm just gonna name them, honestly. Michigan, Nebraska, Illinois, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. So that would be 6.
Oh, okay. 6 of 8. That's a strong showing. I'll go to you, Zach.
I think 5 are going to make it. I think in the East between UCLA and Michigan State, I'm not sure if both make it, but I feel confident that one of the 2 will. I'm just not sure which one. And then I think Illinois will make it. I like Wisconsin and Purdue a lot in the West. And then I think, of course, Michigan will walk to it.
Yeah. Blake, how many you got?
Yeah, every year I over choose the Big Ten, and it bites me in my bracket every year. But I just see these teams the year. I see the potential, and I go with my gut. So I got 6 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16 this year.
Dude, I think a lot of our fans feel you there. I do it too. Jeff, how many Big Ten teams do you have in the Sweet 16? He's muted again. This guy. Jeff cannot figure out that mute button, man. It's the one with a line through the microphone.
I think it's
We'll go back. We'll go to Dalton. Who you got? How many you got?
5.
5. I'm going to try to not do what I always do, and I'm going to say 4. I think that like a couple, obviously Iowa, Ohio State, those are 8-9. So to make the Sweet 16, they have to beat a 1. So you've eliminated two of them already, assuming they don't. Now I know Blake's got other thoughts with that, but I just think it's 4. I think 5 at the most. If it gets to 6, the Big Ten has done very well, and I'm very proud of them. All right, it's that time. Give me your Final 4. Give me your national champion, and if you want to elaborate, you can. If you don't. Dalton, I'll start with you. Who you got?
I got Purdue, Iowa State, Florida, and Duke. My final game will be Purdue and Duke in a classic, Purdue winning.
Oh, Purdue and Duke. That just sounds nice. Let me go down to Blake.
I got Michigan State, Houston, Arizona, and Iowa State in the Final Four. Coming into tonight, I had Houston winning, but I think I'm going to go back over and say Arizona.
Okay. I think that's a popular pick. I think Arizona will be the most picked national champion. Zach, who do you got?
I've got a Final Four of rematches. I've got Duke and Houston on one side, rematch of last year's game. I've got Purdue and Michigan on the other side, rematching from yesterday and earlier this season. And then in the national championship, I've got a rematch of Purdue and Houston. And I remember very vividly last year at about 1:30 in the morning after I watched Paul Sells stare that push off dead in the eye and not call it. I remember tweeting a picture of the national championship trophy for 2026 saying I've never been more confident of anything in my entire life. And that was before we got Omer Meyer and Oscar Clough. I just think all roads with this group has led back to Indy, and I think it ends there. and I think Purdue gets their revenge on Houston, and they finally get it.
Let's go. I hope so, man.
Woo!
I hope
Got me
so.
fired up right there, baby.
Oh,
And Jeff pops off again. This has been a game of Russian roulette. He just keeps falling down that hole, and he climbs his ass back up. Yeah, my Final Four, I said there's going to be no 1 seeds. I can't shy away. Give me Purdue, Iowa State, Houston, and who was my other? Kansas. I think Kansas makes a legacy run. I think everybody counts them out because they've been so wishy-washy. But they aren't injured. They are healthy, and they do still have great players and a great coach on that team. And then my final game of the season is very similar to Zach's. It's a rematch between Purdue and Houston. I've got Purdue in a Braden Smith legacy game to win the national title over the team that he dominated without scoring the year before. He puts up 25 to 30 points and wins the game for Purdue in just a complete redemption moment for everybody on this team and this entire program. And no longer can anybody just say banners when they want to argue with Purdue fans. In fact, we can say when's the last time you won a banner because we will be the most recent banner winners, and I'm excited for that. I have one last question for everybody. Thank you guys for being on. Obviously, we really appreciate it as a podcast. We appreciate you guys that if you listen. We appreciate all of our fans that do listen. We pretty consistently held to 20 live viewers or so on a night where there's no college basketball going on and no reason for anybody to be on YouTube watching any sort of thing. So hopefully everybody who's watched this has enjoyed it, and we do appreciate everybody. The last thing I want to ask you guys is both a positive and a negative sort of question about the Boilermakers, because there's a lot that gets talked about this, and I'm trying to live outside of this moment, but it's a question that we can't help but ask is, one, is this season already successful for Purdue? And if not, how far does Purdue, in your mind, personally, not for the team, not for the players, just for you, Purdue have to go in this tournament for you to feel like this was a successful season? I will start with you, Isaiah. Let me know what you think.
No, I don't think the job's done yet. I know that these guys had the weight of the world on them in the offseason with the preseason #1. And a lot of that was justified. And the Big Ten tournament run and the Big Ten tournament title is great. But the conference stuff's not the goal. And I said that with the regular season, as disappointing as it was, a Big Ten regular season title was not the goal either. So I want to see them make the Elite Eight. I think if you make the Elite Eight and you lose to Arizona, that's fine. You've done a good job. Obviously, it would be disappointing to not make the Final Four in Indianapolis, but I don't think it would be a failure with the Big Ten tournament title kind of lumped into that, and the Braden assist record. So I think an Elite Eight is where you need to go to feel good about the season.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about it, but obviously, yeah, Braden is going to break the assist record in the first game. Actually, something I'm interested to ask the Queens coach about is what he expects the reaction to be from the crowd and everyone involved when that happens, because he only needs 2 assists to be the sole holder of that record. So that's going to be an awesome thing, not only for Braden Smith, but for the entire Purdue world, to break a record that's as old as I am, and just do it the way that he's done it, being an under-recruited, undersized guard, has been incredible. Zach, I'll go to you. What makes this season a success for Purdue, or is it already?
No, I don't think it has been a success up to this point. There have been successful things, like winning a Big Ten tournament championship is awesome. But I will add to that never in a million years would I have thought that they would have lost 8 regular season games this year, including 5 on their home court. I mean, I don't think they've lost 5 games at home combined since maybe the 2019-2020 team that was obviously going to miss the tournament since then. Like they just don't lose in Mackey. I mean, even the Purdue teams that aren't very good, or at least not as good, like they don't lose in Mackey. So it's been very odd, kind of going through this season. So I mean, you're 7 seed in a conference you were projected to win. You're the national championship favorite, odds on when it started, preseason #1. That in itself makes it to this point not a success in my eyes. Just based on expectations and knowing how much this group has been through and how talented they are and how deep this team is. I mean, I know, as having Arizona in your bracket makes it tough if you have to go through them. But I mean, I've always had, ever since we lost to Houston last year and we added Oscar and Omer and everybody, I thought anything short of Indy, if their season ended anywhere short of Indy, was going to be unsuccessful. I just think sometimes there's teams where anything short of the ultimate goal is just not a success. Now, I don't think that it would be a failure by any means if they lost to an elite Arizona team in the Elite Eight. But for me to really feel like the season as a whole was a success, if it does not end in Indianapolis 3 weeks from now, I will not feel like it was a successful season. Even though Braden gets the record, all this and that, and they won a Big Ten tournament, like that's not what the goal was. The goal was always for this team to win a national championship, and that was not us fans. I think, Derek, I've seen you tweet about it quite a few times. That wasn't us fans necessarily pushing that agenda. That was them going on their little media tour during the summer and early fall of, with all the Field of 68 and sleeper guys and all of them telling everybody online, like, if we don't win it, like, this is national championship or bust. I think 2 years ago, there was definitely that national championship or bust mindset, but it wasn't really talked about publicly amongst the players. Like, Edie never went on any podcast or anything and said, yeah, if we don't win a national championship, then it's a failure. But that's what they all did. Even Painter himself went on Field of 68 podcast and was like, yeah, if we don't win this, that's the only thing that matters. Like, if national championship or bust. And so I think that has really stirred up a lot of the frustration because they said all those things and their actions haven't necessarily reflected that. Now, they did the last 4 days, so I'm hoping that carries over. But anything short of Indy to me is going to feel unsuccessful.
Yeah, well said. Blake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a reason why I really like Zach's work on Twitter and follow everything he posts, because I couldn't have said it any better than that. Spot on.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel that way, though.
Dalton, what are you feeling, buddy?
It's natty or bust, Chief. That's what it is. It's the big three, baby. It's big 3+1 from Sunshine Coast. It's going to carry us to that. The players have said it themselves. It's natty or bust this year. I mean, who am I to not uphold their standards? I'm just a fan. I'm just a guy that does a podcast. It's natty or bust. And no, I won't necessarily consider it a failure. You make the Elite Eight. I mean, that's something to write home about. But will I be happy? Absolutely not. It's the big three. I mean, we've ridden with them for 4 years, ride or die, baby. And to see three of the best players to ever go through Purdue not bring one home, it'd be a real travesty, man. So I believe.
Yeah, I'll kind of end it just wrapping that bow up. Like, I'll answer 2 parts here. One is that if we don't make a Final Four, we don't make a crazy run, or even if we lose in the Sweet 16 or something, to me that doesn't mean anything negative towards these players. I'll say that much. I didn't set the goals for this team. I wasn't there in the meetings in the summer where they all sat down and talked about what their goals were. These are three of the most. They're going to be the three winningest. Already are the three winningest players ever to play in a Purdue jersey. One broke the Purdue 3-point record. One is going to break the all-time assist record. It's hard to say that anything that they've done. They have 4 Big Ten titles, 2 tournaments, 2 regular seasons. They've been to a championship game. They were a bad call away from another Elite Eight without Zach Edey. After starting their careers losing to a 16 seed, that's a pretty hell of a turnaround. And so for anyone to question their resiliency, to me, is a little crazy. This team suffered one of the worst historic losses in the history of basketball, not just the NCAA, but all of basketball that's ever existed. Like, they lost to the smallest team in the NCAA with Zach Edey on their team. They were the number 1 overall seed and lost to by far the worst team in the tournament. So for me, the legacy of these guys is not defined by this tournament. However, all that to say the same thing that you guys just said. This Purdue team set their goals at a national title. I will not be happy with anything except that. I've spent my entire adult life and, teenage life rooting for a team that the only argument I've ever heard my whole life is, well, where are your banners? Okay. You essentially promised me that was the goal this year. You promised me that this team came back to win a banner, to win a national title, to go to a Final Four, to do all the things. I thought that was going to happen in 2024, and we ran into UConn. I don't think that team exists this year. We just beat the only team that maybe we thought that team was, and we handled them on a neutral court. So to me, if you don't win the national title, not even just make the game. If you get there, you might as well fucking win it. So If you don't win the national title, I'm not going to be happy with the season. I'm not. It's not a successful season. It's a successful career. Purdue continues to stay on the national stage and be in the national conversation year in and year out. I don't think that's necessarily going anywhere next year either. But when you set the bar that high, you either exceed it and match it, or you fall short. And they set that bar. So I think this is the year that they can do it. And I think that this is a year that if they don't do it, they will not be blaming the fans. They will not be blaming anyone but themselves. And I think that they've all started peaking at the right time, which is all we really wanted all year long. Like, guess what? If we go to a national championship game and win that game, nobody gives a shit how many games we lost at Mackey this year. Nobody gives a shit how bad we looked in February or January. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters at this point is go win 6 straight games, bring home a banner, and your legacy is written in stone for the rest of Purdue lore. And I think that they're going to do it. I truly believe it. I've only slightly wavered when I've seen everybody else really, truly turn on this team. And I've had moments, but my belief has always been there that when the time mattered, they would show up, and I believe that they will. All right, I thank you guys for coming on. 2 hours and 25 minutes, by far our longest podcast, but I think we got a lot of good stuff out, and I think you guys really helped this show. So really do appreciate you guys.
Man, I'll tell you what. Whatever just flowed through your blood the last 3 or 4 minutes, they need to play that clip in front of that team for 6 games, because you got me ready to go out there and play.
Yeah. That energy was the difference between what they did in the Big Ten tournament and what they were doing in the regular season.
That was phenomenal. Somebody clip that and send it to the boys at the Running Pod podcast and get it in the right hands and get that in front of the team, because that was awesome.
Zach, I think you started it, man. You lit the fire, and then you just
did.
Well, I was gonna say, you guys said I got you guys ready to run through a wall. I don't know. I'm feeling anxious now.
Bro, I can rant. I was just kind of watching hockey in the background and getting excited. People were scoring goals. No, I love this team, man, and I love Purdue. And there's nothing I'd rather see than a national title come to not only Purdue, but this entire fan base. We deserve it. And there's no smarter fan base out there, and there's no better team to root for, better players to root for, and a better coach to root for. But we really do appreciate you guys. It's been super fun talking to y'all, and we're a fan first podcast. Anytime you guys want to pop on here throughout, we're going to be going live Thursday, Friday, probably over the weekend too. So if you guys say, hey, I want to pop on, we'll let you know when we do go live, or when we go live, you now have the link. You can just hop in. We don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
Feel
literally
free.
Just pop in. We kind of go with the flow on these live shows a lot of the time. This one with so many people had to be a little bit more organized, but most of the time we're just talking and being brothers. And
thanks
stuff.
again, Jeff. Sorry you had
Yes.
to jump off, brother.
Thank you, Jeff. As always, you're the man.
We appreciate you.
We'll have a preview up, and then we'll start going live for middle of the days and evenings throughout the tournament. And you guys are more than welcome to join. Thank you so much, Dalton. You can send them out or say whatever you'd like.
Hey, boiler up. Let's go get a natty. It's
Boiler up.
go time, boys. Yeah, boiler up. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to the chat for keeping it going. Everyone that watched. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace out.
Peace
Boiler
out.
up.
Peace.
Appreciate it.